It's finally time, everybody. All league fans and players alike, from your toxic hard-stuck 80 carries and their noble supports, all the way up to the noble top laners on their island kingdom. We are finally back for another split of Divine League. And don't worry, we're at a time that we said we start at from the exact beginning. We didn't have to change the schedule whatsoever. It's going to be an action-packed split with a lot of amazing teams set up and a new sort of format as well, but I'll let Bonfire break that down because I know he's got some energy packed in for this Divine League split as well.
Oh, Slayer, I am more than excited to get this going. New season, new teams, new players. I'm just so excited. And like you said, new format. Me and you both being here. First of all, you look great. I look great. You had to dress up
No, you.
for the occasion, but we're not the ones that are going to be guiding the ship this entire time. We've got some other fantastic talent. And that's the way the entire split is going to go. You've got these analyst type positions that me and Slayer are filling in right now, and we're going to be your guides to the show before we send you off into the draft stage where we've got some more wonderful talent to help cast the game. Go Farino along with Gordo, but we're not there just yet. So stick with me and Slayer. We're going to break down everything you need to know about the Divine League before it gets going in about real soon now.
Certainly very soon, and we'll get to the two G-men in just a bit, but also we have a bit of a different format from the fall Divine League split from all the way back last year. It's going to be, this time, a bit of a different look. We have a 400 LP soft cap with that 800 LP cap for 2 players per roster, but here's the big hitting part. 16 teams have signed up for Divine League spring 2023, or winter 2023, excuse me, into 2 groups. We've gone from a 5-week regular season to a 7-week regular season full of best of 3 action. And my favorite part, personally, Bonfire, double elimination bracket playoffs are back, which means if you have a bit of an off week going into your playoff matchup, maybe lose a close series, you're not out of the tournament just yet.
No, 100% not. And this is what people have been asking for at Worlds. So, we set the trends over here at Risen Esports. We show Riot Games how it really should be done. No, but jokes aside, I'm incredibly excited about this format. I think this allows more teams, more players to really get their start in this, incredible thing we call League of Legends esports. And I'm just really excited to see a lot of these teams start out. I think both of us were looking at some of these rosters and a lot of new names, a lot of old legends, rejoining Divine, trying to get that coveted piece of silverware.
Certainly a lot of very, very intriguing teams that we'll take a look at here. Interestingly enough, though, if you've been following along for the Divine League, I do have an unfortunate update that our former champions, Purdue University, are not present for this split, but we certainly do have a lot of intriguing teams, and we also cover even more of a broad spectrum of collegiate esports rosters. You can take a look at a couple of them if you're a fan of Collegiate League. You might recognize some of these logos here. Michigan Esports certainly screams out. You have Maryland, a new team stepping in. Shout out UC Irvine and my brother who attends that school. Not on that roster, but certainly know he'll be cheering for them as well. But the big fish I think that we all are looking at over in Division 2, Bonfire, I know both of us had a big eye on off the bat. Team Ambition is back trying to get another championship after falling out of finals last time round.
Yeah, and we talked to a lot of those players just a couple of splits ago, and they said that they were so excited to build something, and they haven't really reached that glory since that coveted grand finals interview we had with them. We're talking about legendary players here, and I think this is their real chance to prove that they can knock down this new guard, because as a whole, a lot of these teams really stick out as stuff that we haven't seen. Piggy Eats, Atlas Esports, A Forgotten Kingdom. These are teams that, we haven't seen in the Risen Divine League so far. And then you're also looking, obviously, at the Indiana Hoosiers, a well-known college, but they haven't graced the Divine League yet. And so it's really up to those boys at Team Ambition to prove that they can just tell those youngsters it's not their time yet. And it's time for the old heads to take the crown again.
Yeah, and certainly a great point to make. We also have a couple of intriguing rosters that we saw last split, but didn't make a far enough run into playoffs. Some of them missed the playoffs as well. And those are teams like Cupid Esports, a fan favorite of mine personally, back in that Division 2 slot. But also We see the return of Team Death Knights. They have two rosters. You might have spotted their logos out on our graphic we just ran. Lovely graphic we just ran. And, well, one of those teams is a part of our featured matchup for tonight to kick off the season in Division 1. It's Team Death Knights Rejects versus Glacial Esports Black, who also make a turn to the Divine League. But Bonfire, the intriguing part about Team Death Knights Rejects is almost completely different roster than we saw in the fall.
Oh yeah, and 100%. And I mean, I think these two names really, if you're a fan of Risen or really any Academy or amateur, excuse me, League of Legends teams, these names mean something. It's like the Yankees versus the Red Sox. They both carry so much weight and so much power, but these are a lot of new names that we haven't seen so far. You talked about Team Death Knights Rejects. I think the Rejects is really being highlighted there because none of these players have played for Team Death Knights in the Divine League in the past. These are all new players, and I think Team Death Knights, especially with the reputation they have to uphold, really need to make sure that that Rejects is more of a joke than a reality because these players have something to prove. They're playing for the badge, if you will, and I'm really excited to see what they can bring. Opening week, it kind of brings something special. None of these players know anything about the other teams, and so it's really a blank slate for them to paint on.
So, well, we're also forgetting the fact that it's an all new season, season 13 for League of Legends. A ton of interesting changes have already come in to start off this season, but we're not going to touch on those too much because the players are already ready. They're as excited as we are to get into the action for Divine League Winter 2023 and to get through the draft. Well, we're going over to the G Men. So, Gordo and Go Farino, take it away and get us into game one action.
Oh, we forgot to unmute ourselves. Hello, guys. Well, Gordo remembers to unmute himself. I'll be taking over champion select. Oh, there's Gordo unmuting himself right
You
now,
know,
but
I'm
we're
not
right into
used to
picking
being
it.
muted for these kind of things, go for Eno,
It
but
happens to every caster. We always forget.
yeah, it happens here and there, but thank you everybody. Thank you Slayer and Bonfire for that excellent introduction. Welcome back, Go for Eno. We missed you in the last split. Well, we
Yeah.
were manning the reins over there, doing a little bit of a three-caster deal over here in the Risen Divine League, and now we are back. We've got ourselves, as they were saying previously, a whole slew of casters that we're going to be showing everybody throughout this split. But right now, we're focusing on tonight's matchup between Team Death Knights Rejects and Glacial Esports Black. Already getting through these picks and bans, Team Death Knights Rejects will be on the blue side for this game number one, and they're already going to be pinching the champion pools here. Kindred, Shen, and Anivia taken off the board.
Yep, a lot of just target bans on the board right now. The only ones you could argue are more general in meta will be the Heimerdinger and kind of the Kindred. Those won't be on the board. It's gonna be the insta lock in here on the blue side for Wait, I remember we switched the teams. It should be Team Death Knights on the blue side. It is
That
Team Death Knights on
is.
the blue side. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably going to be I Get the Sauce, bringing out the Maokai. You know, the top lane and support Maokais, they've dropped off a little bit in favor of the jungle. Everybody loves throwing down those saplings. It's also one of the few junglers who can actually utilize the Scorch Claw pup. So might get to see that little Pokemon that nobody ever plays these days up against the Elise. So some early aggression coming through here for Glacial Esports Black and for popping.
Because Elise just has not really been on people's radars for the past few years. Oh, there's the Gordo Classic. Cam going blank, but Elise hasn't really been on people's radars for the past few years, and it will bring a bit of unfamiliarity to this matchup. Against Team Death Knights, we'll have to see because Elise did take another really big hit last year in the durability update. Gonna be paired with the Ornn though. Not the classic like super gank heavy kill combo in the top of the Elise Renekton, but you do have a lot of CC at least to lock down whichever sad fool is in the top lane against you. Hello again.
Yeah, what's going on? We're just a little bit scuffed tonight. That's a
Always
classic
that.
though. Every time I'm on a stream with Caddy on production, we start having this happen. I don't really know. I don't know. Someday we'll
Yeah.
figure it out, maybe. But in the meantime, Ornn's been locked in, and he's going to get matched by Cassante, the new man up in the top, going to be locked on in here for the side of Team Death Knights Rejects. So really embracing this new meta that we find ourselves in. They're going to take themselves a tank and a former tank to group on up for these early ganks on the top side. We'll see what they want to round out with. A lot of priority on ADCs I've seen in the LPL so far, but haven't seen them thus far in this draft. And right here, it is going to be a Nami lock-in. So kind of hinting towards Illusion, but you got to believe that's going to be on the table to be banned.
Yeah, most likely. Although, I believe using the LPL for first picks prio statistics is always a little bit biased because LPL tends to be a little ADC favored. But hey, that's just a theory, a game theory. But we'll have to see if that Lucian is taken off the board here. Mm. Oh, the Nyla. Okay.
That's an interesting one, and the insta ban of the Lucian as well.
Yeah.
So really looking to punish this squishy Nami with, potentially out leveling her and getting a little bit aggressive with the melee range marksman right there. Irelia going to be banned away here as well as they look to maybe pinch down the mid lane pool, knowing that it's likely going to be that Ornn in the top lane. We'll see how Glacial Esports want to navigate the rest of this. This squad has been together for quite a while, by the way. 4 of them, everybody but the top lane, playing together in the Aegis Vanguard League last split. It's excited to see how this team has managed to grow together up against, as they were saying in the pregame, this brand new squad for Team Death Knight's Rejects. They're going to ban away the Yumi.
Just on the Yumi ban, probably just not wanting to be paired with the Nyla, and it's going to be paired with the Rel, interestingly enough. That can all in with the Nyla. I haven't seen this combo personally, so I'm not going to make full judgment on it. It's just Nyla does really tend towards those heal-heavy supports. Nami Varus, though, would bring a lot of range in this bot lane. Nami Ezreal, of course, would be a lot of safety, so it looks like the Team Death Knights composition here, in the bot lane at least, trying to play it safe, wanting to avoid the all-in, which is understandable, because both Nyla and Rel do want to get on top of you and do want to get in your face, and Ezreal Arcane Shift is a great tool to say.
Yeah, that's what you got to do in this position. You know, your opportunities to brawl up against the Nyla Rel, they're pretty limited, especially with that Lucian and that Xayah already taken off the board. So they're going to lean into being a little bit more passive here. They can already try to play around topside with this Cassante, and now they're going to take Rise to threaten these side lanes a little bit and, flex a little bit of their mid lane roaming muscles here. This Rise super buffed on this patch, guys. The new Rod of Ages, the new Archangels, both really benefiting him there, or should I say the new Seraph's Embrace. It's the same item, but a little bit of a name differential there. And, the Do and Be Classic comes on through, the Faker Classic as well. Everybody, all those famous mid laners love this champion, and he's going to have to brawl up against the Yone in this game number 1.
Yeah, and Yone might be a little bit of a tricky matchup here. Yes, he do have the point-and-click Rune Prison as the Rise. However, though, Rise does have the much weaker physical side, as is expected with mages, and Yone will be able to get on top of you fairly easily. Even if you Rune Prison the Yone is probably already about in melee range of you, so will be able to hit you with the little slices, will be able to hit you with a bit of a cleave, maybe the knockup, and then just dip on out before you can really harass him on the way back. That's a big thing about the Fate Seal from Yone. Is able to fly on back, and you're not able to get those cheeky range versus melee post-trade autos that you get in a lot of other matchups.
Yeah, absolutely here. And the immediate thing that stands out to me when looking at this red team composition that Glacial has drafted for themselves is the pick potential. When you're looking at somebody a little less mobile, like this Nami, like this Rise, even like the squishy Maokai, most of these Maokais are building pretty much heavily AP these days. They go for the Demonic Embrace, they go for the Leandries. So pretty vulnerable to getting caught out and picked off. And Glacial Esports, they've drafted a composition just for that. You've got the Cocoon coming through from Elise, you've got Call of the Forge God, you've got Fate Sealed, you've got Rel and Nyla to jump on top of you and come through with their displacement abilities. It's going to be really tough to escape if you get snagged by one of those skill shots, so you're really going to have your wits about you, and you're really going to have your positioning on lock if you're Team Death Knights to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Thankfully for Team Death Knights, you do have the tidal wave from this Nami, which is still a really excellent tool to dissuade engage. If you're able to time it right, while yes, Glacial Esports do have some ways around it, whether it be through being unseeable, whether it just be through using the repel to get on in. There are ways to get by it, but in large part, the tidal wave plus Nature's Grasp combo from the Nami Maokai will provide a lot of just, hey, please just stay off of us. We have an Ezreal, we got a Rise. We're going to play a little bit more of the ranged game against you.
Yeah, for sure. And, excited to see what this kind of poke based composition really ends up being for Team Death Knights. I mean, they really do have a lot of power to deal some damage at a range here. It doesn't really look like it apart from the Ezreal, but that Maokai as well these days. He's just throwing out those saplings, he's empowering them in the bushes, and he's really chunking people's health bars out with the way that he ends up building. So a lot of really powerful finishing potential with the Cassante and the Rise, but also can just whittle you down over time. And this is, a composition that's 4.5 melees for the side of Glacial Esports. At least, yeah, she can shift into human form a little bit, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's giving you the range that you're looking for. It's really going to mostly be about needing to find those picks and needing to find those engage angles for Glacial Esports. Otherwise, they're just going to suffer from being outranged here. This Ezreal can really deal a lot of damage compositionally up against this Glacial Esports squad. It's going to be very tough to deal with him if they can't find a way onto one of his teammates and to net themselves a numbers advantage.
Yeah, and speaking of the Ezreal, I am wanting to look to see if we see the Navori Quick Plays Ezreal build, because that is a fun as hell and pretty good Ezreal build. It does take much longer to get online since you do want the 60% forehand, but still, I mean, it's gonna make you that much more slippery if you do go that. Either way, Israel's still a very slippery champion. And I like that point though that Glacial Esports, they really want to get on top of you fast and get that burst on down. Because if they're not able to pop some people, then things get a little bit hairy because you have a Rise pressing in queue, you have that Ezreal arcane shifting away, raining those mystic shots on you. Not exactly fun.
Absolutely here. And while we get loaded into the game, we want to make sure that we get all of our series predictions in here for tonight. So let's start off with you, Go for You have a prediction on who's going to be taking tonight's series, if it's going to be Glacial Esports or Team Death Knights here.
Uh, this game I'm very heavily favoring Team Death Knight's composition. Series wise, probably Team Death Knights here, going off of these drafts.
Yeah, I do have to favor Team Death Knights a little bit based on these first game drafts, but you know what? I'm going to give Glacial the benefit of the doubt. They've been playing together for longer. I think they're going to come in very nicely prepared for tonight's series after having a nice break in the offseason, and I will give it to Glacial Esports. But I'll say it's 2-1. Is this Team Death Knights draft
Yeah.
looking at pretty dangerous? With that said, we're going to throw it back to Bonfire and Slayer so they can give you their thoughts before we start off game number 1.
Thanks so much, Gordo. I appreciate you making sure that we get our predictions in as well, because it certainly was a crazy start to this Divine League split, a crazy start to these broadcasts as well. So glad that they got theirs in. And in true, I'm going to coin it now, Slayer and Gordo fashion. I am exactly mirroring Gordo's logic, and I promise it wasn't because I enjoy Gordo so much. I adore him. But my logic here, Bonfire, is the fact that I do like that Death Knight's rejects is comp so much more. You know how I feel about Ezreal. I think this is a perfect storm for him to pop off for this squad. So I think they take that first game. But I am going to lean towards the team of a roster that predominantly stuck together all the way through a different split last year round on the Aegis side. And I'm going to give it to them 2-1, be able to come back. I'll stick with that team. But I do think game 1 will go with the Death Knights, and I'll leave the stage to you to completely contradict what I'm thinking, as you have done so many times.
You know me too well. This is a problem, Slayer. Yeah, I think we got to coin this the bonfire. Because I like to be, the black sheep, the contradictarian, and I'm just gonna continue that trend. I actually, I see a lot of your guys' points, and I think Team Death Knight's rejects. It's a mouthful right there. Has a very good comp, but I do like a Glacial Esports comp. I think just a little bit more. And I think it just comes down to the way they can play these fights. And so I actually think Glacial has a better team comp for game 1. I think they steal game 1, but I do think at the end of the day, it is going to be Team Death Knights. I understand you're playing with the team, but when you're on Team Death Knights, you simply have to play at a high quality level, as we've seen them play split in and split out. And I think that they figure it out this opening week. I also think that playing as a team in week 1 actually a bit of a not helpful. I can't think of a good word for it, but it's not helpful because you just get scouted a lot more. People can watch former games. This TDKR team, nobody has any clue what kind of strats they're going to break out. So I think they drop the first and then they completely storm back and win the next 2. But I think we're all hoping for a great 3-game series.
That was the point I was just about to make, Bonfire. We disagree, but at least we all come back to the agreement that we want to see as much League of Legends action as possible. I mean, that's what at the end of the day, we may be casters here talking through everything that's happening on the screen, maybe on an analyst desk, but I'm a League fan at heart, right? So I want as much League of Legends action as possible. And I do see your logic for the side of Glacial Esports Black to take this first game. My problem is I am worried about this jungle matchup, right? Because I think we both can agree Elise as a pick, if she doesn't, if Papang doesn't accelerate this game from the jungle early on this Elise pick, Elise can become very, very, a weak point for a team in team fights. Her effectiveness really drops off once you get to the mid game standpoints, and you can't, single target as well. There's a front line to get around that you can't set up stuns very well to single target your damage out. And on the other side, for Team Death Knights Rejects, Maokai is just the perfect storm opposite of Elise, right? You're talking about early on, focusing on farming, getting a bit of tank items up, getting that little pet just a bit bigger for the smites and everything in that sort of area. And then once you get around to that mid game, those team fights come around. And Nature's Grasp is one of the best crowd control ultimates in the game for that phase. So it'll certainly be very, very intriguing to see how it plays out. But are there any other, points in this matchup we have for game one, Bonfire, that you want to highlight as we get set to get into this game?
Yeah, I just want to quickly touch on the Rel pick because I think it's kind of going a little under the radar. I think Rel hasn't seen as much love since her release. I don't think that's really surprising for anyone to hear, but I think actually Nyla has brought her back into the meta to an extent just because of how well their synergy works together. I fully expect this bot lane to kind of run rampant, and I think that's going to be an issue for the Ezreal. I think Golfarino and Gordo highlighted it perfectly. If this Ezreal is going to be dangerous, it can be trouble for GEB. But at the end of the day, I don't see how Ezreal gets ahead early, and that there's not a ton of damage. I think that's actually my biggest concern for Team Death Knights is the damage for them. I think you've got a Rise and you've got an Ezreal, but other than that, it's just a lot of helping pieces. And so I think if this Ezreal falls behind, if this Rise falls behind, it just is going to be a big problem. And I think I'm really excited to see how this Rel, the Ornn, along with the Yone can combine their ultimates, can kind of bring that synergy together and just make it incredibly difficult for DDKR to stop the death ball that is the the Glacial Esports combination.
I certainly think that's a very fair point to make. I mean, I think any League of Legends fan keeping up with current meta and the current champion slate can say a top jungle duo of K'Sante and Maokai not really possessing a lot of damage in that department. But to figure out how exactly this game plays out, it's finally time to kick things off, ladies and gentlemen. Strap into your seats. Gordo and Golfarino, take us away for game number one between Team Death Knights Rejects and Glacial Esports Black.
You want to save changes to Untitled? Hello, gamers.
Hello, everybody. We're unmuted. We're here in time. Everybody's spamming mastery emotes. I get the sauce.
You
Doesn't
never
have the
muted.
mastery level 7. So, a rough time for him. But going to be a full 5-man send it down mid here, Golfarino, to start things off. And they might run into Silva, but he's got to know that they're there.
Mm-hmm. And much like how there's a party in the jungle, there's a party in Twitch chat today. Our dear admin Matt's birthday is today, so if we could all join in and sing happy birthday for Matt, that would be great. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Matt. Happy birthday to you. Also, fun fact, turns out the birthday song is now in the public domain because the people who originally copyrighted it, they didn't actually have sufficient proof, but they were just kind of BSing the entire time, and people or the patent office, not the patent office, the trademark office looked at it. Oh, trademark office looked at it, and they're like, "Wait, you didn't actually ever give proof. You made up this thing."
Was this a
Okay.
recent development? All right, hang on. We got to talk about Sly Lego going aggressively here at level 1, mounting up, pulling on in loose cannon, but taking quite a bit of damage on the backside. Silva's taking some as well. Feels like this health bar trade really favors Team Death Knights.
Really great because getting the damage onto a loose cannon while forcing out the flash, not even level 2. That is the potency of Rel level 1, is that you do have those two forms of CC when it comes to the remounting, because you get the little knockup and then you get the big knockup. Well, it's the big knockup then the little knockup.
Absolutely here. So getting good trade in there, but Silva and Slylego, they're going to hit level 2 first, and they're going to be at a level advantage all lane long, unless something goes horribly wrong, just making full advantage of that Boundless Joy passive, as they should just be able to build themselves up an early lead here. Should be very safe for Loose Cannon, but, you know, just going to be these two champions eking out their advantage through the natural benefits that they get with that Nyla passive.
Just the extra XP can be huge. We already see it with them hitting level 2 first. We got Poping, hovering in the bot lane. Look for the cocoon. Flash cocoon does land.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice buffer there from the Ezreal, but
Ooh.
Loose Cannon's going to end up going down. But First Blood actually goes over to Lord
Ooh.
Cristo, who gets himself the double, gets himself the triple, and Popping over aggressive there with his team, going to end up giving over double buffs and a bunch of gold to Lord Cristo on the Nami.
Yeah. That was also First Blood as well, so a little problematic, bestie. Not gonna lie. The 3 kills do go to the Nami, however, and only 1 assist goes over to Loose Cannon, so technically these 80 carries are even right now on this back. However, the 3-0 difference on the Nami getting that early Bandle Glass is gonna be noticeable. Okay, looking for a little bit of a gank here. I don't think the particles show here for Nightingale, the link particles.
No, they shouldn't, but Nightingale
Flash?
still going to have to see him come in here with the flash coming on in, and is going to get hit by the knockup as he tries to kite back. So going to have to expend his own flash there. Not going to end up losing his life, but good damage there from Kite, Azure, and Slylego. Going to exert some pressure in this mid lane, and now here comes Popping, trying to finish the job. Nightingale
Raggy.
pretty far up. Popping still has that cocoon, holding onto it as long as possible. Does get the stun. I got the sauces over the wall, but just can't do anything about it. Only throws a sapling to watch his teammate fall. And that's going to be a kill to Glacial Esports.
Yep. That gank going much more better for Glacial Esports than the first one. Caddy even focusing on the double buff Tsunami right now. That's 3-0 with the Bandle Glass Mirror. But you get that kill onto Kite Azor here. And this Rise for Nightingale still not going to have to flash for a hot minute, to say the least. So you can rinse and repeat. Will this rinse and repeat in the bot lane work out?
Ooh, Popping wants those buffs back, going to land the cocoon. There goes the crash down from Slylego, and shutdown gold goes over to Silva along with those coveted buffs. And just like that, Glacial Esports, they take the lead right back.
Yeah. Funny how that works out because it was a 3-kill shutdown. It was actually worth 600 gold. So technically, there's 3 kills worth of gold collected by Glacial Esports thanks to that shutdown compared to the triple kill collected by Team Death Knight. So in the end, it's even, aside from the First Blood bonus. But funny how things work out in life.
We weren't considering Go for Eno. This is like the old 2 reworks ago Mordekaiser strategy. This is the feed to win. You end up giving up a huge shutdown to the kill on Lord Cristo, and then you feed it right into Silva, and just like that, Silva skyrocketed ahead. Meanwhile, Nightingale still getting pressured, still without that flash. Slylego going to abandon the play. And
they can't cover this camp if they want to. Mid lane is the play, though.
Absolutely. I get the sauce. Showing up here, does see them, does get access to his own camp, throws down a sapling for vision, and will be able to back away safely. Nightingale, channeling the ultimate, just steps away. Was just ulting some minions out behind the turret to try to deny some gold.
I think that was the misclick.
I mean, yeah,
it
probably.
Could be tactical.
I mean,
it's a bit longer cooldown than the typical Anivia stall, because Anivia can just use wall to stall out minions and help control wave state, which can be really obnoxious for freezing. So this is kind of like a 2-minute cooldown version of an Anivia wall.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to break a freeze. I mean, you know, you throw your minions back under their turret and you get a clean reset to 0. You even deny about 3 camps worth of gold, or 3 creeps rather. So that's going to be the crash down. Turned around on by Lord Cristo. Nice bubble there. I get the sauces here as well. This is going to be a kill on the Rel, but can Silva escape? Looks like that will be pretty easy for him. That kill goes over to Loose Cannon.
And finally, this Maokai Bites in the gank department was opting for the farm here, as is kind of understandable. You know, that at least a little bit of a ganking machine early on. The analyst desk did touch on that at least kind of falls off a cliff in the mid to late game. So you want to make the most of your early game.
Yeah, and thus far has done a pretty good job. A little bit of a mishap early on, but turned that into an advantage for Silva, and now going to have the flash up available pretty soon. Be on the lookout for those flash cocoon plays. Yeah, just landing 1 CC, so huge for this Glacial composition. Six Kings haven't paid much attention to top lane, but he's
On Proc
brawling it out
Grasp.
up here as best he can.
Proc Grasp, you both have it up. That's the thing about tank versus tank matchups in the top lane. Since you usually don't have the hugest threat on each other, hold that thought. We got a bit of a contest with this dragon, I think. There's no ult for this Nami, and yeah, it looks like Team Death Knight's gonna be backing off here. They know this is happening.
They know it's happening, but they don't have direct vision on it, so they're gonna
Or a
end up just
jungler.
giving that one over to Popping. So going to be first dragon for Glacial Esports here as they just return to the bot lane and look to keep pressuring on a loose cannon.
If they're able to do that, because this Ezreal now has the Tear of the Goddess, has the Sheen, gonna give you those juice behind those Qs, gonna let you stack up. Not gonna be the Navori build that I was hoping to see, the more typical Tear of the Goddess plus Triforce or Divine Sundays build. So still very solid, just not the new thing on the block. Very safe though.
Absolutely here, and the gold remains incredibly close between these two teams off the back of the shutdowns and the kills that have been traded back and forth. But Rift Herald will be started up on the top side. I get the sauce, taking advantage of Six Kings' priority in the top lane, going to get that big crab for himself, and going to cash out a little bit extra gold.
Yep, and recalls in the bot lane. Loose Cannon did just use the True Shot Barrage to help with the wave, but gonna be backing here, picking up the call fields. Just some more ability haste. Oh, hello, Caddy. I see you clicking that. By the way, Caddy, the map on the bottom right isn't matching up with the overlay.
Calling out production on stream here as Popbang is trying to steal
Ew.
away the red buff. I get the sauce is here though and has the backup of his bot lane. The smite goes to Popbang though, gets the upgrade on his pet while he's at it, and he will be able to retreat safely.
Just shimmying on out of there. That's a sort of early game lead you want to see on Elise. Well, kind of. You're still behind on CS due to the fact that Popbang was going for those early ganks as expected. About three and a half camps behind. I believe each camp is worth 4 CS. But yeah, as expected.
So a nice snag there for Popbang and going to convert it into the topside scuttler. So really making up some of that CS deficit by snagging the neutral camps and stealing away camps from I Get the Sauce. Kite Azure though, you know, showing maybe why there was a little bit of a reason to use your Realm Warp earlier on is just kept the pressure on Nightingale so heavily that this Ryze can't get out to farm anywhere, and Kite Azure developing about a wave and a half's worth of a CS lead. Popbang now coming in, tanking the turret incredibly early. Nightingale just going to flash over the wall there and get himself safety.
Here?
It's now here. Sly Lego going to get locked down, tries to flash away, but the grasping roots land, and there's the True Shot Barrage to pick up the kill. Knock back in onto Silva. Apotheosis lands onto nobody, and one more shot will do it, but Silva is just far enough away to keep himself safe.
Oof, and it looked like the all-in was there for Glacial Esports, but 'twas all a bait. 'Twas all a bait. Rift Herald summoned in the bot lane. Gonna just be taking these 2 plates here. Popping,
very outnumbered here, trying to back away, taking a bunch of damage. Kite Azure might be able to bail him out in time, but this is still a 3-on-3. Fate Sealed lands only onto Lord Christo. He's going to have to snap back. Nightingale's there as well, as they're going to try to slam this wave into the turret and get themselves at least one more plate. They're going to have to wait a little while.
Close. As we're saying on the when we're in the pre-show call, Mama Lamia, that turret is very low. We didn't have the turret part in there, but this is a Mamma Mia moment. So you really, really want that plate here. We even see these 2 members staying around. Probably just going to be picking up this lone plate and then looking it back.
Yeah, now they do manage to secure this plate for themselves, so are now just going to be chilling out underneath their bot lane turret, go back for a recall, see if they can get their Ezreal up to his first item here, and he will be able to get it. That is going to be Man Immune to match up against Silva's Ravenous Hydra.
And that's going to be a very noticeable spike here in bot lane fights. Even though, yes, the Man Immune is still stacking. You have the Sheen to back it up. You got a bunch of CDR now as this Ezreal, and you got a bunch of AD. The biggest difference is Sylvia with that full item that is available now. Yes, you do have to stack it up off minions just a little bit. It's gonna give you dummy sustain here to really just go in for kind of monkey brain trades, realistically, and then just teal it all off with the Ravi.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do. You know, you got to play the melee into ranged lane, so you want to have that power, but not working out for him here. Loose Cannon did tons of damage, Apotheosis to pull them back in, but Loose Cannon picks up the killing spree anyway, as now here comes Sly Lego and Popang looking to finish off this kill.
That's
they
a
will
lot
be
of
able to get
damage.
it on a Loose Cannon, and Leoto arrives just to clean up the second one. Double kill goes over to Popang, and that's a big lead for Glacial in the bottom lane.
Oh, you got the dragon on the board as well, so it will be your second of the game. This isn't like turbo fast stacking rate, but getting a soul as this team that's going to be looking to force these picks is going to be very handy. Not if Team Death Knights have anything to say about it. They got 3 members here to the 4 of Glacial Esports. One of said members is
I
also...
get the sauce pretty far up here. Gonna get locked down. Gonna get taken
Mamma
down
mia.
as Popang goes on a killing spree as there's gonna be a Realm Ward out from Nightingale. Nobody has the CC to interrupt that one, but that's gonna be an easy Dragon number 2 for the side of Glacial.
Let's see what the soul is here. Okay, it's gonna be the Clown Rift here. So, gonna really help these all-in teams as move speed for these sorts of all-in comps. Just to get in and stay on top of people is really underappreciated. Oh,
There's
Fate
the
Seal
Fate
gonna be a
Sealed.
Fate Whiffed. Or
Very
Fate Field
close.
Goal. Because I guess NFL's back in season.
NFL's nearly out of season, my friend, but Loose
Oh.
Cannon going to
I'll keep
be
track.
managing to get out of there just in time as Lord Cristo throws down the bubble. Silva gets knocked up, but there's no follow-up damage yet. Nightingale is here, but Lord Cristo taken out just as much as he dishes as he tries to move forward.
Yeah, the consequences of giving a Nami an early triple kill means there's a Nami with Imperial Mandate very early in the game. Not something you typically see. We could see the typical counterexample of a bit of a good rune prison.
Yeah, there's going to be the lockdown on the Popang, and this Fed Elise not going to be staying alive for very long.
Oh,
There's
the
that
Ignite.
massive Nami damage, and that kill's going to get picked up by Lord Cristo, carrying this bot lane 4, 2, and 3 as they look to move further in bottom lane and take out this turret.
Worth noting, I'll hold that thought. There's the Nature's Advance.
Yeah,
and-
there's going to be the lockdown. There's going to be the
Ooh.
True Shot Barrage, and Silva just gets blown up here.
Oh, great
Perfect
bubble.
bubble from Lord Cristo, and they are going to get themselves 2 more, as well as the turret. Team Death Knights catapults themselves into the lead.
Ooh, 3-0, and the turret for turret trade. Yes, Glacial Esports was able to get the first turret in that trade, but yeah, not a worthwhile trade. Glacial Esports gonna be feeling the brunt of that, and you have this Nyla who's gonna be one of your 2 main sources of damage in the late game. Falling behind 1 and 3, that's a bit of a problematic situation to be in because you have this very physically based damage composition, and when one of your physical damage dealers falls behind like this, Gordo, when the armor starts coming in, you're gonna be feeling that 1 and 3 Nyla if you're Glacial Esports.
Absolutely, here is now Popang
good
and
stun.
Lego moving in on the bottom side, locking down onto I Get the Sauce, who will be able to escape for a little bit longer. And now Loose Cannon is here to start firing on some of those Mystic shots and going to push back the 4-man squad of Glacial. They already used a lot of their engage tools, and they don't feel like they can pursue any further.
Everybody just hovering around the mid lane right now. Could call it an ARAM, could call it a NA Herald. Could call that a field goal, actually. Back on the subject of NFL being actually almost out of season. I don't know if it's postseason or whatever. I don't.
A little bit
I
of a
don't
Cowboys
know.
field goal there, though, as they're not going to be able to
All I
lock
know
that
is
one
everybody
down.
hates the Cowboys, so
Now Six Kings is going to be the focus of a lot of damage. Steps into
Ooh.
Popping. Didn't realize he was camping in the bush. Leoto not going to be able to recast Call of the Forge God, but he doesn't need to. He's got a numbers advantage on his team, and they're the ones focusing the Rift Herald. Stepping up now. They don't want to
There's
give
the
this up, but
flash.
there's the
Mamma
big
mia.
Magnet Storm. There's the Wombo combo out of Glacial Esports, and they pick up 3 in that fight. Loose Cannon gets himself out of the way, but he is now in a 1 versus 5 situation. He is going to lose the Rift Herald. He's going to lose his teammates, and he's probably going to lose some turrets.
Beautiful engage there by Sly Lego. You flash, use the ultimate there. Beautiful stuff. That Magnet Storm just locking in everybody for that Fate Sealed. Wombo, combo. That ain't Falco, as the story goes.
Now, just a great angle found by Sly Lego there. You know, the poke comp wants to come up and do what it does best, but they just do not have the ability to escape once that rail comes crashing down. Only Loose Cannon gets himself out of the way, and he could do that easily, but he can't do the entire job of winning a team fight on his own. He needs some teammates left standing, and they just cease being there.
Yeah, yeah, that's what happens when your entire team gets blown up by a Wombo combo. And that's gonna result in some flash.
Ooh, a nice cocoon off the back of the shift from Loose Cannon. Going to chunk him
Great
pretty low, but he
stun.
manages to get his way out anyway. Popping dashes
No, that's
forward,
your
but it's going to get
jungler.
taken out. As now they're going to brawl it out the rest of the way through. Kite Azure lands the knockup onto multiple members. They're going to take out Loose Cannon as well. It's now Six Kings in Irelia mode, trying to fight it out, but just gets melted down. Nightingale coming in on the side, trying to clean up. What will he be able to do, though? Call the Forge God lands. He's getting locked down. He's getting battered on by the remaining members of Glacial Esports, and is going to have to jump over the wall with the blast cone. It's still a 4 versus 2 situation, and Loose Cannon now maybe on the wrong side
What
of
are you
dodge,
doing,
has to
baby
shift
girl?
to the enemy team jungle, trying to kite it out, hitting some nice Mystic shots, but he just doesn't have the damage, and Nightingale doesn't have it either.
Oh.
Silva taken very low by the True Shot Barrage, but how can he finish the job? The Fruits healing him back up. One more Mystic shot, knocks him back down, but Leoto finds an angle, dashes in, and takes out Loose Cannon. That's going to be a unofficial ace for Glacial Esports, and it's going to be Dragon number 3.
Yeah, and I don't think they even took a kill in return. Oh no, they killed Popping at the beginning of it, but that's still a point. That's a 6-4-1. Glacial Esports feeling fine and dandy right now. Yes, it is only a about 3.5k visible gold lead, but the psychological lead, the macro lead here, now that they have the triple dragons, now that Baron's on the board in 5 seconds, Gordo, they're sitting fine and dandy. They should have some nice power spikes here for forcing the next fight.
Absolutely here, and they get themselves a substantial gold lead back in their favor, have swung it way back around from when they were 2k down earlier on, and so much of that has gone into Kite Azure on the Yone. He was playing pretty quietly for a lot of the early game, just keeping the waves shoved in, but now he's found his options in the fights, he's found his angles, and he is getting paid off big time. He is the strongest champion in the game right now, and he's going to continue to push forward onto Six Kings.
Yep. Has the red buff too, so yeah, this Yone is gonna hurt. Has the double life steal too. Has to really drain tank through this Six Kings Cassante. The name was escaping me for a second. I don't know why. Oh, Fate Seal gonna be a Fate field goal.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to finish him off without landing that one. So the evasion by Lord Cristo manages to keep his KDA alive. And now going to have that advantage anyway, setting up around this Baron. They're the first ones here. That means they have the power to start up this objective. Still got to respect the poke coming through from Team Death Knights, though.
Yeah, because this is still a 5-kill Ezreal. This is a Rise now with 2 items. Fully stacked Seraphs as well, so this Rise is gonna hurt despite being 1 in 3. The biggest difference is that Nightingale, since they are this far behind, very squishy, hasn't been able to itemize any defensive stuff yet, doesn't have like a Frozen Heart, doesn't have Zanya's. Things you really want against this team comp that you just don't have in the back pocket right now, because that's a 6-0 Yone that's gonna be diving you. 6-0 Yone that's taking Baron right now. This is on a ward though, so... Teleport.
Here. Leoto
Big
just trying to
investment.
fend off the members as they come on in. That's going to be Tidal Wave landing onto the Ornn. Probably not the target they want to
That deserves
focus, but it's
half
the
health.
target that they've got. And some good damage landed onto Popeng. He gets taken out by Loose Cannon off the back of the Maokai
Hey, girl,
ultimate.
what
And
are
now
you doing?
Leoto's going to be the next one to drop. 2 kills easy while Kite Azure can't participate at all. And that's going to be a big fight win for Team Death Knights. They move forward and they look like they're going to be able to take this Baron. Let's see what the 3-man squad can do. Really only 2 as Kite Azure is not even present. The bot lane probably biting off more they can
damage.
chew. Crash down away from Sly Lego, but the Realm Warp behind. The all out from 6 Kings, and Sly Lego drops. Silva going to be forced to head for the hills, and Baron goes over to DDK.
And Glacial Esports, that was a bit of a fumble if I ever seen one. I don't know why I'm continuing with the NFL references here. That one was by accident, okay? Because that was a fumble by all means here, Gordo. Like, you had a pretty nice lead in the game. You had control over the map. You decided to go for this early Baron. You spotted on that ward, and you're like, you know what? Let's just keep going with it. All day, every day. It's all about that grind, bro. But much like what the grind does to your body in real life and deprive it of any life you actually have, it deprives you of any gold lead you have in this game. And now with the Baron, gold lead basically dead even.
Yeah, and that means they're going to get the push before this next dragon spawns. That's critical for TDK here because they need to make sure that they're going to be able to prevent the soul from going over to Glacial. You know, it's not the best soul in the game. It's probably the worst soul in the game.
It is the best
It's
soul,
still
don't.
soul. You know, and you don't want to give that over for free. You want to prevent the Elder
Whoa.
from spawning, and you also don't want to give that free buff over. But Lord
It should
Cristo
be.
stepping up, flashes away though, not getting locked down. Lord, he's alive. He makes it out. Kite Asher doesn't have the ultimate, probably wouldn't have wanted to use it anyway, and that means that does manage to get out with his life, but without his flash.
You could have maybe argued using the ult there. If it gets you the 5v4 and secures this dragon and also takes a Baron buff off the map to cool a bit of this push, you could definitely. Not gonna be the case, because it was on cooldown. It is gonna be up now though, and a flashless Nami is a very vulnerable Nami. Glacial Esports definitely not wanting to give up the clown soul here.
Absolutely. It's now 10 seconds to go on that spawn. Still trying to fight back for control. Popping. Nice dodge there on to the Mystic shot. Keeping himself safe. It's now Leoto moving forward, looking for a place to fend off the engage here. They've got full control over this ramp. It's going to be so hard to move past it for the squad of TDK, but Popeng has taken a fair bit of damage over the wall. 1 or 2 more shots from Loose Cannon will be all she wrote for that Nyla.
And a heal off blue buff. Oh, you ain't got
Leoto,
time.
the one getting locked down onto again. Popeng can't even be present for this fight. It's a 5 versus 3. Kite Asher finally arrives though and lands the fate sealed on the 3 or 4, melting absolutely through everybody. But all out 6 Kings is more than enough to pick up the rest of the fight. And there's the Realm Warp hunting down onto Kite Azure. 4 members already down for Glacial to only 2 for TDK, and they're gonna look to get themselves their first dragon of the game. But Nightingale still hunting, still looking for Kite Azure, finds him, he can't turn it around. That's a 1k gold shutdown onto the rise. That's a dragon for TDK, and they get themselves back into the gold lead.
And we see the poke just starting to come through here. Those saplings, those mystic shots really adding up. Taking some key health bars down before that fight here, Gordo. Stops the soul that Glacial Esports was fighting so hard for. And now, Glacial Esports, they're the ones on the back foot. Especially with these turrets available on the map, up for easy grabs, there's going to be a lot of extra change in the pockets. Yes, outer turrets are worth the least amount of money, but it helps you establish map presence, and it is still money in the bank to get your carries even further ahead. This is a 7-3 Ezreal, looking to finish off the Lord Doms by the looks of it.
So close to turning around that fight was Kite Azure, though. A fantastic ultimate, gets it onto so many members, but 6 Kings, he's very powerful in his all-out form, and he just turns it around and cleans up the rest of the fight. Super nicely played there. So now the Frozen Heart is done for Nightingale, so, you know, he's more resilient up against the potential engages coming through from Kite Azure.
Yeah, that's gonna be a bit of a key issue here, because Frozen Heart against a team comp who's gonna be relying on a Yone plus Nyla for damage. You know, 2 physically damage-based auto-attacking champions. That's gonna get you pretty good value, all things considered. Oh,
Absolutely. Here,
there's the
Magnet
Magnet
Storm
Storm.
into the team. 3 men locked down. There's going to be the stun follow-up, but can they get the follow-up damage? There's Kite Asher
That's a big
diving in
shutdown.
with the Fate Sealed, gets himself the shutdown on a loose cannon. Nightingale's dropped as well, and now TDK, they have close to no damage. What can Six Kings do, though, as he rejoins the fight?
Oh,
Apotheosis out of
that's just
Silva,
tablet.
pulls back in the sauce. Can he finish it off? But doesn't look like it, as
Huge
there's going to be the
knockdown.
all-out back into the team. Six Kings trying to carry the fight, but he's not tanky anymore. He gave up half his health bar, and the shutdown comes through for Kite Azure and Glacial Esports. They're looking to crack open the base.
Just like that, Glacial Esports, when it looked like they were kind of losing their touch here, Gordo, able to bring it on back. Don't call that a comeback, but it's looking a lot like when your favorite K-pop group comes after a 2-year hiatus.
Pretty close to it. Glacial, not out of the woods just yet. Still got a little while until they can get themselves the Dragon Soul. The members of TDK will be back in time for this next Baron, so they will be able to brawl over that one. Just a great engage there from Sly Lego, though. Builds up a huge comeback for Glacial.
Huge, huge, huge. And we now see the Ornn items coming through for Glacial Esports Black, so that combined with the 2 extra dragons you have means I'm guessing about a 4-ish K gold lead in hidden stats, which is definitely a big deal. A big deal indeed. The unseen gold lead is the deadliest, even if it's not a super noticeable one. You got Baron on the board here, and both these teams going to be hankering for that one. Glacial Esports, especially after the last one was a bit of a fumble, as I classically said.
Yeah, absolutely. Got themselves a pair of Blood Wards over on the side of Glacial Esports with those upgrades coming through. And a Unspoken Parasite. Loving some of the new Ornn item names there. That one's going over onto Leota.
Oh. Alright.
Kite Azure. Looking around.
Yeah, the sapling damage. Definitely noticeable with the double burn. This is a double lifesteal Yone, though, so if Kitos are able to get on top of a minion wave for even just a few minions, we'll be able to heal that back up just fine. Leoto, in a little bit of a dangerous game, has to watch out for any potential engage here, because Team Death Knights, while I did highlight that the Tidal Wave and Nature's Grasp were really great disengage tools, they're also really great engage tools. Oh, Kitos are.
Oh, I got the sauce.
Leoty?
Really looking for the angle onto Kite Azure there. You know, he can count real good, so he sees that there's only 4 members right in front of him, and Kite Azure is the odd man out. He's split pushing in the top lane. He's lurking around in the jungle, looking for flank angles. If they can find a good engage without him there, it'll be great for them, but if they take the wrong timing, then they're going to get flanked and destroyed by this Yone. Looking to collapse onto him here. They lock him down. The Soul Unbound, not going to get him very far at all. He loses about half of his HP and his Blood Ward shield. There's going to be the repel coming out of Popbang. He's got nowhere left to go either. Big Magnet Storm into the back line, but Loose Cannon is not a part of it at all. There's the Fate Sealed out of Six Kings, but even he manages to stay alive, and I get the sauce. Dashes in, shuts down Popbang. Nightingale stepping forward. Loose Cannon gets pulled in by the Apotheosis, but Silva can't deal the damage quite yet, and Loose Cannon still raining down these arcane shots, melting through the side of Glacial Esports. The lockdown onto Leoto comes through from Nightingale, and Silva and Kite Azure, the last 2 standing, are going to be forced to back away.
These Nami Mooseby boosts might be able to lock it down. No, and that split push from Kite Azure means very easy to just hop on in, try and pick them off. Yes, they didn't die there, but what a hefty price. It's the 3-for-1. You're gonna have to rely on potentially a super YOLO steal, which is not on the board. So you see actually
there is no
Silva.
smite, but yeah, Silva,
Yeah,
he's giving that up. He wants the soul.
Yeah. You get the soul here. You kind of just got to go with that, yeah. See if they're able to take it in time here. With the double recalls, it looks like Team Death Knight's not going to be contesting the Cloud Soul here, sadly. My favorite soul in the game. No bias whatsoever. So, tit for tat. Eye for an eye, in a sense. And we're back to a bit of a neutral map state, but one of these teams, the team with some actual range on their side, Gordo, has the Baron buff and can look to really just put their boot onto Glacial Esports here.
For sure. I get the sauce. Just farming away in his jungle camps, keeping himself sustained up and upgrading his saplings while he's at it. That's why you go the Ember Claw on this Maokai. Really lets you get that bonus damage off of the saplings when you do manage to catch an unsuspecting squishy with one of those little babies right there. They're going to just look to reset their waves. They still have this inhibitor down in mid, but they will get it back pretty soon. And TDK, they're not out of this just yet.
Neither side are really out of this just quite yet. It's been very back and forth. There's been periods where Glacial Esports have felt like they're the ones on top of the game, and other times where Team Death Knights are the ones on top of the game here. And it's still anyone's game at this point, even though we were favoring the Team Death Knights composition in Champions League. It looks like Glacial Esports, they've been able to make their very pick-centric composition work here, at least for now, Gordo, because I am worrying about the potential armor stack coming in.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern, especially with this Cassante able to very effectively itemize into armor. Rise could even get a little bit more once he decides that he's all set on damage. And Maokai as well can start opting into that some of those stats. Could get a second Frozen Heart if he's feeling it. Could get a Randuin's. He's looking to mitigate some of the crit damage coming on across. And that's really going to be very tough for these AD damage dealers at Glacial Esports to deal with.
Yeah, even just some Taobai/plated steel caps, although that's not going to be the case here. It is the lucidity meta after all, if you're Team Death Knights. Surprised we don't even see at least single plated steel caps here. But hey, good items all around.
Horn upgrades still coming across. The Vespertide and the Equinox will close it out for the remaining Glacial Esports members. See it once they're able to give those across, but the primary carries already have it given away, and Leoto, of course, upgrading his own item as well. Make sure that he's going to be as tanky as possible. And Popeng, that fall off has really come to light here. He's got 3 items plus his boots. He's pretty strong, but just the ratios aren't quite there on Elise, and his ability to one-shot somebody, we've seen in these last few fights, it's just not really present anymore.
Yeah, that's Elise for you. I mean, kind of surprised there isn't a Zonia's here for Popeng to just go in, try and get some burst off, and then stall for some time. I can also understand you do want all the damage you can get in. There's the Claw Hammer, so that's probably going to be a Zonia's. Speaking of items, though, we got the Navori on Loose Cannon, so let's go.
This is the new age blue build Ezreal. All these items, they're blue somewhat. The background on the Lord Doms is kind of bluish. The Navori Quick Blades are blue. I'm going to count it. I've been wanting that build to come back for a long time, and this is the closest we're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, even back in the day when original blue Ezreal came to fruition, Blade of the Rune King was actually purple back then, so...
True.
It was a blue hue build. It was pretty close.
Yeah, it was...
Bit of a lull on the map state, though, for now. I say that as King Kaijazor gonna be trying to take down that turret. Not gonna be getting it. Everybody just waiting for the big buffs to come up. We got Baron up in 2 minutes. Or, sorry, Baron up in 1:40. We got Elder up in about 2 minutes. Those are gonna be the big things that cause people to start going at each other's throats.
Absolutely here. And Kite Azure trying to brawl it out with 6 Kings here, but the siege in mid is way more effective. Loose Cannon ripping through this top lane turret, although here's the teleport for the flank. Can they realm warp out? A nice interrupt from Sly Lego is going to stop that one. Lord Cristo just getting bursted out, as does Loose Cannon, and this might be the fight that Glacial Esports were looking for. They lose 1 member to Nightingale's damage, make that 2. Popeng is dropped as well. This TP from 6 Kings pretty late here. It's going to be a 2 versus 3 on the map, but both damage dealers are there for Glacial. What can they get done here? No more engage tools, but Silva, he does have that Apotheosis, and he does have the Exhaust. He's going to look to find a member. He pulls them back in, and this could end the game right here. Go for Eno. 6 Kings manages to escape off the all-out, but Nightingale is gone, and Nightingale was the wave clear. Silva getting engaged on by the Cassante, but 6 Kings will eventually melt down to Kite Azure, and that's going to be all she wrote for game number 1. 37 minutes nearly. Glacial Esports take it for game number 1.
Very close at the end there. It all comes down to that one Hail Mary engage. Glacial Esports, knowing their composition, needs to go in very hard. That's exactly what they do. Pays off well for them in the end, but still a very close game all around, Gordo. I know both the desk and us were a little split on who's going to take the series here, and this game number one definitely shows that.
Yeah, it definitely supports my prediction. So, I'm here for it all day, every day. But also, yeah, what a fantastic flank there from Kite Azure to close out the game, finding a teleport angle, finding a way to force a 5 versus 4 fight, and winning the game for his team there. But we're going to throw it back over to the analyst desk. They've been paying extra close attention the whole way through, and they're going to break it all down for you.
Thanks so much, Gordo and Goferino. Congratulations on an amazing call. What an amazing game one. I mean, I honestly don't think there was a better way to kick off this entire season of Divine League. Me and Bonfire were back here behind the scenes trying to figure out how do we even encapsulate this game, because there was just play after play after play from all these guys from early game all the way through late game. I mean, Bonfire, it felt like at certain I don't think the gold lead ever swung more than 3 or 4K in a favor of one team. We had a Nami triple kill turret dive to kick off this game. We had amazing Ezreal and Yone play as well. How do you even describe what a game we just saw from both these teams?
Well, it felt like a children's park because that was a seesaw of a game, back and forth, back and forth. One team's on top, and then the weight brings them all the way back down. I thought it was an incredible first game, and it's the first game of the split. So not only is the first game of the series, it's the first game of Divine League in 2023. What a way to get it started! But I think what it really was, it was an introduction to what could be one of the best mid laners in the league. It might be an overreaction, but man, Kite Azure really impressed me that game on the Yone. I think the composition really helped him out as well. But just the knowledge to side lane push, and then also being able to have the wherewithal to get those flank angles like Gordo talked about. I was just over impressed with Kite Azure, and the rest of the team was able to support their mid laner and win them the game. Glacial getting that first game and selfishly making me a correct man.
Certainly is a correct man. I'm glad you highlighted Kite Azure and some of the team play from this squad because, well, we're still doing replays, running replays at this analyst desk to break down these games. And Bonfire, take us away through the first one. 17 minutes into the game. What a wombo from Glacial Esports here.
Yeah, and this is what it came down to. This is why I had favored that composition early on. It's a Rift Herald fight going on early. Popeng with a really fantastic position in that bush. They did not ward it. Was a huge issue for Team Death Knights the entire game. But then it's a 5v4, and with the health bars, Team Death Knights thinks that they still have a chance at this. And it's honestly not a bad shout, but it just comes down to the rel. That's one knockup, that's two knockups, that's three. And at the end of the day, the bouncy castle just makes you sick. They all go down. And at the end of the day, they get the Rift Herald as well. A huge gold swing right there. And it really all comes down to the support play from the rel. I talked about King Azure with those plays, but it doesn't get made without the Ornn along with the rel creating them. There were so many that game, and that was just the first of many.
I just know I'm going to be seeing that highlight play on Twitter. I expect it to see it all over Discord. I expect to see DMs about it. I mean, that was just a flawless wombo combo. You described it perfectly. 3 knockups. You even had Apotheosis come in from the Nyla at the end there for just so much damage overall. But that alludes to the fact this game might have been one-sided. It was far from that, because when we look at our next clip just about 2 minutes later, we get to see, the Death Knights really start to fight back at a point, because this game was close back and forth at multiple points here. We get into this next one. I'll take us through. It looks pretty similar, right? We see Glacial Esports, they start positioning well, but early on, it's a catch onto the Ornn. Can't even get called. The Forge got out before it's blown up. But look at the top of your screen. Kite Azure, flash forward, 4-man fate sealed. You're thinking, oh God, it's happening again. But no, gets knocked away, disrupted. This Cassante does a ton of damage over top. The Ezreal's able to flee away. Loose Cannon, playing by his name, is able to get over the wall away from Popeng, and they're able to turn this fight on the back of 6 Kings, and all of a sudden you're going from, oh my God, Glacial Esports is about to close this thing out, to Death Knights rejecting them at the Dragon Pit.
Yeah, and that's the power of the Cassante. If you do not focus the Cassante because, oh, it's the traditional thought of he's a tank, then you are just going to get punished. I think also not highlighted was that Rise doing so much damage. It felt like the death ball was very hit or miss for the side of Glacial, but that time it was definitely a miss. And it just comes down to losing the Ornn early. You talked about how important that Call of the Forge God can be for those fights. If you don't get that knockup and the damage that it provides, really disastrous things can happen.
Yeah, certainly a couple disastrous things that happened there, but keep in mind this game was back and forth the entire time. Gold lead didn't swing further than 3K or 4K. I want to see on either side, and well, it all came to a close with one masterfully played fight at the end by Glacial Esports Black here, and a beautiful teleport by Kite Azure at the end. Bonfire, take us away. Tell us exactly how they closed this game out.
Yeah, it really good just came down to popping along with Kite Azure. Look at this. They have them completely boxed in, and Team Death Knights don't know this yet. They're trying to get out. They realize way too light. And look at Sly Lego. He sacrifices his life right here, but he keeps them all in a horrible position. And then Kite Azure getting some of the most important members of the team down early on. And at the end of the day, this is what I talked about early on in the champ select. You lose that Ezreal, you lose that damage. It just feels like it spells doom and gloom. The Maokai fighting alone. That is a tree. He wants peace. He doesn't want death, and he cannot find any kills alone. And that's what ended up being that death push towards the end. Not pictured there was the 2 kills found with the apotheosis on the Nyla. And so honestly, I think that Glacial played that game really fantastically. A couple blunders here and there, of course, as to be expected with a new team, but there's a lot to be excited for with this new batch of rosters.
The big thing I spotted there as well is you saw towards the top side, Six Kings and Kite Azure were dueling in the top lane. Kite Azure teleports in way earlier, and Six Kings waits what felt like at least 15 seconds too late to even try teleporting towards mid to help out his team, and then he's caught in the free fire trying to run away. Certainly a pretty good performance, a debut of Cassante from Six Kings, but maybe a bit of a blunder towards the end there. Big takeaway though, this was one hell of a way to kick off the Divine League with two teams that are, newer rosters, teams returning as well. It's just so beautiful to see. And ladies and gentlemen, that's just game one. Stay buckled in because this series is far from over. And on the other side of our first break, we'll get into game number 2 draft between Team Death Knights Rejects looking to even the series up, and Glacial Esports Black trying to close things out. Only way to find out is to stick with us.
Welcome
Hello.
back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Risen Divine League. Goferino and Gordo coming back at you. Got our mics unmuted this time. Ready
Hopefully.
for round 2 of draft.
Yep. Hopefully my co-caster unmutes their mic here. I'll be taking over the draft. I saw you looking at the other monitor. I got you.
You did make me look, man, but it looks like I saw already up down at the bottom. I'm pretty sure that's what I was looking at. So, Glacial
Yeah.
Esports up 1-0, going to the blue side. A win here will win them the series, and we'll start their Risen Divine League split off on the right page.
On a very right page. Of course, I mean, it was a very even game for the most part last game. Very back and forth. So, Team Death Knights, we can't count them out just yet. Wouldn't be too surprised if we see the Yone taken off the board, because that was a bit of a sleeper pick in the beginning, but then kind of ramped up into something that was a bit of a monster, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. He just ended up getting so much done by the end. It was really looking a little shaky for a little while, but just keeps finding the clutch team fights, and that's all it takes to be able to win out at the end of the day there. We were bemoaning the scaling of the Elise all day long, but as long as you get the 5 vs 4 fight, as long as you clean it up and can take the Nexus, you win the game anyway.
Yeah, a 5 versus 4 with the Elise is like a 4.5 versus 4. We're talking about late game here. That is the nature of Elise. See if it does come back, because even though it did fall off like a cliff, it put in some pretty decent work early game, barring the Nami triple kill, for the first blood. Bit of a yikers. Angio.
For sure here is still looking for a couple of ready ups coming through from the team, but they'll be ready before too long. They know what's coming. So Glacial Esports, we talked about the experience and how that might end up making a difference, and I really feel like that's what they showed there. They really came together as a team. It was really the team fights where they ended up making a difference. Popang had some great gank paths as well, but Team Death Knights, we talked about the team comp so much, and it was really paying off for a while. Their ability to poke, their ability to utilize Cassante and how broken he is. They were all really on point there, but at the end of the day, it's the team play that comes out on top, and the team fighting that ends up winning them the game.
Yep, and it did really come in clutch there, as we saw in the later stages. Huge, just multi-man combos there, whether it's with the Magnet Storm, whether it's sealed. You got a lot of people in one place, also taking a lot of damage. It worked out pretty well for them in the end if you ignore some of the hiccups.
For sure. So we're looking for the ready ups to come through. I saw ready up on the red side. I'm looking at the draft law on my other screen, Goferino, and I keep seeing the colors move back and forth, and usually that means the draft's about to start. And yet we are not quite there yet. Oh, something's happening.
That was just to the overlay. They're still unready in the draft.
Dude, every time I look away, I see a color move on my other screen, and I think that it's time. There we go. That's actually just
changed the draft link?
We must have changed the draft
link.
They
broke it.
Okay, cool. That's okay. It happens. We're gonna move over.
Familiar faces on the board, though.
Yeah, that's all right. So the Heimerdinger band going to come through. That is a returning, as is the Kindred band. So they are keeping exactly what they did in round number 1. If they're going to keep that pattern going, I am going to navigate away from my draft law and find out that it was an Olaf ban here for Glacial last game, and then Shen followed up for TDK. So we'll see if that's how it ends up working out. There's that Olaf.
Yep, taking off the ult, as me and my friends back in middle school used to call it.
The Ulf.
The Ulf. We just took out the, we just switched some of the letters. We got that funny pronunciation, but more familiar faces on the board here. No petty bans from last game right ahead just quite yet. Never mind the triple kill Nami aficionado and the Maokai as well. I mean, Maokai, you did mention, has a pretty strong place in the meta right now. Also taking off that Nami to make sure you don't have to see Nami Lucian, because that was a threat looming last game, and we saw the Nami Ezreal perform well. Imagine if that was...
Yeah, for sure. And that does mean that the Silas and the Anivia are going to be available now. And that hurts. That hurts to see. It was banned in Phase 2 last time, but Glacial Esports, they are not going to let it sit around that long. They are going to pick it up for themselves. The Yuumi is locked in. So now the Wukong is being hovered. My camera is going to drop out. we are going to look to see how
Thank you, Agent
TDK
Caddy.
intends to respond.
Seeing the Yumi, I'm curious to see what's locked in with it. There's the Zeri hovered and taken away, so we're not going to see that combo. We could see other Yumi combos. Yumi Ezreal, still fairly good. Yumi Sivir, that's another combo. I think Yumi Nyla's technically a thing. Don't quote
Agree.
me on that. I haven't seen it.
Ooh, Yumi
Mm.
Jinx could definitely be a
Right.
fun one to check out as well. Though I am partial to the Yumi Sivir. I think that new Sivir, with the bounce back and forth on the boomerang blades, very powerful. We're just rotating through the whole cast.
Yumi
You know, this is where we
Kalista.
learn not to talk about hovers, but it does end up being Tristana at the end of the day. So that's definitely an unexpected one. A champion we don't get to see too much of these days going to be selected for Glacial Esports.
Yeah, that's if it is going to bot lane here, because Caddy, take that off my screen. Take that off my damn screen. It's already bad enough I have to look at you. I kind of hate the
Yumi
cat. If it's
Jam
not
taking
obvious,
over
but
the stream cannot be removed by commands from the casters. It's just going to be present as we're going to round out. We're picking small blue characters. Go for, you know, we take the Poppy, we take the Tristana, and we take the Yumi. It's 2 Yordles and an honorary one.
yeah. Yeah, I was wondering if Yumi's like a Yordle, but she's not like humanoid, so she shouldn't count. But at the same
No,
time,
she's a cat.
Corky's like technically a Yordle.
Corgi is, yeah.
Even though like by all means he doesn't really do Yordle things. I don't know. There's the Victor though, which makes me think if you really want to, you could flex the it would be rocket jumping into the gravity field, so maybe not. Because I'm just really not a fan of Yumi Tristana here. In all honesty, Gordo, like Tristana really wants someone to all in with her. Yumi likes a very safe AD carry that can poke. Yes, Tristana fills in the safe part, but Tristana doesn't really poke. So
No.
you kind of really got to wait for level 6 to all in, but Tristana wants the level 2 all ins.
Absolutely true. So that's going to be a weird one. We'll see how it ends up working out. Could be the Tristana flex to mid that you brought up before. That's definitely still on the table. They're going to draw out some solo lane bans anyway. So clearly TDK aren't fearing that at all. And the support bans coming through now for Glacial. Take out that Lulu, take out that Nautilus, take out those champions that have a little bit higher of a success rate at knocking up the Yumi, interrupting her when she's going for the dash on, dash off techniques. Going to be a little bit tougher now, as we're going to see who does in fact support this Zeri. The pool's pretty pinched.
If you wanted to, you could go for the Singe support tech, since
True.
you put down the corrosive glue. That's not going to be the case, though, by the looks of it. The Renata Glass gonna give Zeri that extra bit of potency with the potential revive invites. Not to mention the hostile takeover. Pretty beneficial. The Zeri's not in it because all the people that could be hitting the Zeri, all the people that could be crowd controlling the Zeri, not really going to be available to do that for about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. So there's a lot of free time for the Zeri to be hitting with those lightning beams.
Yordle comp, Yordle comp. Oh, okay. We're hovering some other champions
Rumple's a
now.
Yordle.
He is. Everybody small and furry. Yeah, I'm old enough that I remember when Tristana and Poppy were Meglings and they didn't get retconned into just being Yordles.
Is that before the Poppy rework?
Must have been. It was.
I
like,
honestly don't remember.
It was like forever ago. They pretty quickly realized they're like, why do we have 2 small little races? Why don't we just make them all Yordles?
But that also created a lot of confusion because Yordles in the lore have like a lot of confusion around them. Because it's like they're able to do a lot of these like really wacky things, and there's not really any set like thing because you got like Ziggs is a Yordle, Heimer's a Yordle. You're like, okay, they don't really look too much like Yordles. Like it's a weird miss, and the only unifying thing is that they're tiny.
Yes, the males are furry and the females are Meglings. Because they used to be something else. That's their only rules. So anyway, Renekton's locked in, Ahri's locked in, Dr. Mundo is being hovered and will be locked in. So looking like it's going to be the solo lane Mundo facing off against the Renekton, and the Ahri is going to be hanging out in mid lane facing off against this Victor. So this does mean it's Tristana Yumi bot lane.
Don't know about that. Well, technically the Yumi is kind of a not a glass counter because you don't get hit by the hostile takeover, so you're still able to use your spells. So that's like an interaction, I guess. The Mundo just gonna be a fat blob of meat here in the front line. You're just looking to absorb damage here. You got the Wukong as well to soften up people, and you're really looking for the Zeri Victor combo to help through the health bars that are remaining here from Glacial Esports.
Yeah, I like the Dr. Mundo in particular facing off up against the Renekton. It really messes with what Renekton wants to do, you know? He wants to get in there, he wants to use the Ruthless Predator to stun you, he wants the animation cancel that into ultimate and get his full combo off that way. And you can't really do that up against Mundo because he goes where he pleases. He shrugs it off, he just keeps walking away. It's hard to land the follow-up Call to Meek, it's hard to land the follow-up Slice and Dice. It just interrupts a whole lot of your game plan, and on top of that, he could just farm up safely with cleavers. So I like every bit of what's going on in this top lane counter.
Yeah. Not to mention, unless the Renekton builds the Blade of the Ruined King, it is a little tricky for you to get through that Mundo health bar.
Absolutely here. So going to be at least a rough situation in some ways right there. So we are going to throw it back over to the analyst desk to break down a little bit more of this draft. But we will see you guys again once we are back out onto the Rift.
Thanks again, G-Men. I still don't know if they like that nickname. I guess
They haven't
hopefully they'll-
said.
Hopefully
They
they answer
must
me.
like it.
I think it's a good. I think it makes a bit of sense, right? So, well, we're back here on the analyst desk, everybody, and I guess it's another draft in Divine League and another draft diff. It feels like for the Death Knights bonfire. I mean, there's a lot of avenues. I feel like with their team comp. Once again, I feel like directly counters Glacial Esports, but it's all about the pudding once you get onto the Rift. So.
Yeah, I think it's actually really difficult for Glacial Esports. And in the last game, I think there was a lot of good points that everyone made of how Team Death Knights could win. But at the end of the day, the Death Ball remains undefeated. And it just came down to those team fights. It wasn't the side laning, it was this pick Death Ball. We're all going to combo our ults together and win that way. And ended up working in that last game. But this game, it's just a lot more skewed on where they're going to focus their attention. It seems pick oriented when you've got the Ari along with the Poppy. You want to just perma stun someone up. But I think that Gofrino and Gordo made a lot of good points on this Renekton, really struggling in the top lane. And I think you really need that Renekton to get going if you're going to have any chance of winning this game. Glacial just not off to a great start in my eyes, where in the last game, it wasn't the best, possibly, as you would say, meta way to win a game, but I think it was still a viable way to win the game, and they ended up doing it that way. This game just not as clear.
Certainly not as clear as we are actually joined by a third party. I don't know if you noticed, but Yumi Jam
Hey.
stays true, of course. It's a very fun little token about Divine League. If you ever see Yumi selected in Divine League, just know that there is a Yumi jamming somewhere around here. So it is a focal point to talk about, though, right, Bonfire? Because something both Gordo and Gofrino highlighted is in the bottom lane. Bit of question marks, I feel like, for Glacial Esports here, right? Because I agree wholeheartedly with what they talked about. Yumi and Tristana is a matchup that doesn't make a lot of sense in the early game. Maybe once they get level 6, they really come online as a one-shot ability duo in the bottom lane. But before that, they're not going to play well together at all. Yumi's not going to want to ever go forward when Tristana will. And then I would argue even in the later game, if you're trying to get off really impactful final chapters and such, you're not going to try and do those on a Tristana who will likely be jumping around once again.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting pick, and I think it just comes down to they wanted the Yumi so badly, they figured the rest of the draft would kind of come into focus the further they went in, but it just didn't really all come together, and I agree with you. I think the Yumi really good when you pair it on top of a Zeri, or on top of a Sivir, or on top of something that is going to stick to the back line and really needs to utilize that movement ability that Yumi gets, the speed that she gives. But it just doesn't really feel like the synergy is there. There can be good possibilities. I think Tristana will never be angry about moving faster and being able to chase down opponents a little easier. But like you said, I think that's just a missed opportunity. Whenever you're able to grab the Uni to, I imagine the anti-Yumi fan club chagrin somewhere out in the world, they are gnashing their teeth. You really need to pair it with a really strong bot laner. And I think they missed a huge opportunity. I don't think it's going to be a negative per se, but what really could have been a huge positive just feels like it was missed out on.
Speaking of huge positives, Bonfire, especially when we factor in, we're gonna bring back this narrative of season 13, factoring a couple of item changes, how these different items play into, new champions. If you want to talk about, if you want to pick up the list of which champions were the most overpowered in preseason, I would argue pretty heavily for Dr. Mundo at the top. He literally looked like an unkillable blob. They could murder literally everybody, like was four-shotting 80 carries at certain points in the game as well. Nerfed a little bit going into the season, though. So I guess we're kind of litmus testing how this Mundo will play in. Certainly plays well into the matchup against the Renekton, like you highlighted. But I think another champion that's kind of gone under the radar is in the 80 carry department with this Zeri. I mean, you're talking about, we're really still discovering this patch right now. It feels like Ezreal with that new Navori Quick Blades build is getting a lot of attention. It feels like Caitlyn's getting a lot of attention. Varus is still running really well high up in solo queue ladders. But with the changes to Ravenous Hydra and that being such a high prio item for a lot of champions, I think Zeri's going to benefit hugely from this and is set up really well, as we already highlighted in the bottom lane matchup, to pop off as well.
Yeah, and I think Zeri, there's a lot of question marks, like you said, because I think that people still have, Worlds on their mind. They're still remembering that kind of Worlds meta that allowed DRX to win the whole thing, and Zeri was just really noticeably absent from that. And so I think people are expecting Zeri to fall flat on her face, but in reality, especially in December and, to extension January, this is when you'll see the most changes. And so a lot of these champions, you have to get out of that old mindset. And you highlighted it perfectly. Zeri is not in a terrible position like she was a couple of months ago. And so I think that, like you said, she went very much under the radar, but she's been strong in the past. I expect her to be strong again in the future. Whether or not this is the game for her to pop off, we'll have to get to the Rift to see. But I do think that she's in a good position. It's really in the maker's hands to make the most out of the champion.
I think perfect, really poetic way to highlight it there, Bonfire.
Thank you,
Certainly be
Slayer.
watching Zeri. He's also being helmed by arguably the best performer from game one. I mean, I'm certainly biased towards anybody that loves to select Ezreal and show off Ezreal, but Loose Cannon was just living up to his name, constantly dodging out on a lot of what was coming at him in that game. And if you get it done on the Ezreal, Zeri's certainly a champion that is very, very capable of kiting back as well once you pop that lightning crash. And, well, I guess now we're slated for a very intriguing game two, where it seems like both these teams are running similar comps. You have Glacial Esports Black that are running a comp that seems like it's more pick play oriented once again, right? You have the Poppy Ari combination that could roam around the map a lot and target single champions and try and blow them up. And on the other side, Team Death Knights Rejects, they have a team fight based comp, but it all comes down to execution and to figure out how they execute and if they'll keep their season alive. The Dapper Boys are throwing us back into game two with the G-Men. So take it away, Gordo and Goferino.
Welcome back, everybody. Goferino's unmuted. I saw it happen. We're all here. We're all ready for game number 2. Glacial Esports taking on TDK. Looking to close this series out in 2. TDK, of course, would like to bring us the full 3 games. And we're going to get to see all 3 jungle pets this series. Goferino, at the very minimum, as the blue and green, the Gustwalker and Moss Stomper make their first appearances of the night.
Yep, a little bit of a rare one. I believe the green one is usually preferred here. I don't know if the changes and the patches have done anything, because I don't play jungle. I'm an 80k main. That, and I also play ARAM almost exclusively, so to say I keep up with jungle pet changes.
I do play a lot of jungle, but I'm bad
My
enough that I
condolences.
build the Moss Stomper nearly every game. I do like the Gustwalker. I think it's underrated in competitive when you're, a little bit better at the game. If you can make good use of that little speed boost that you get from entering the shrubbery, it definitely will get you a lot of progress there. I really like it on Wukong in particular. It surprises me that I see red and green pets so much on the Wukong. Feels like it should be so valuable to be able to decoy out of a bush, get that bonus movement speed, close more distance while invisible, and then find some sick engages. But it's not what I get the sauces interested in this game.
Yeah. Hey, we still got a whole season ahead of us to decide on what the tech of the day is. For now, though, it's laning phase time. Oh, it's about coming now. Both these bot lanes probably going to be getting pretty cheeky in this level 1, trying to get that advantage. One of these sides, though, with Silva as their Tristana, should have the natural push advantage with the explosive shot passive. Looks like
Yeah,
the rapid fire.
yeah. The
Um,
issue though is it doesn't have the passive yet, but also has the Yumi as the support, who's not really going to be hitting the minions the same way that a traditional support would, and so is going to not get the level 2 first. Is going to get pushed on in. Loose Cannon and Lord Cristo going to have control of that bottom lane for the time being, but it's going to be the opposite up on top, where Leoto on this Renekton. Until Six Kings gets tanky, Leoto's going to run this show.
hmm Does have the health crystal plus double pots here. Mundo scales very heavily with health. Does not really scale with any offensive stat. Damages more or less based off how much health you got in the tank. That's why we see the Ruby Crystal coming out. Even though Doran Shield, very nice for that extra regen to deal with these Renekton all-ins. Health is just such a valuable stat on Mundo.
Yeah, no, you get health regen for having health, so get doubly rewarded there. The more health you got, the more health you heal, the more damage you do on your E. So yeah, definitely really appreciating every little bit that he can get for himself, as both top laners are going to go for a pretty early reset here. Leoto going to go for the cull, though, realizes that, it's Mundo. I'm going to be in a farming situation for quite a while, and Silva gets a little punished for the explosive shot there, ends up missing a minion.
Unfortunate. Actually, a little over a full wave down. Yep, just gonna stun up the clone. No
Yeah,
big deal.
popping. A little late to the Scuttler trade, and so going to end up losing that one. I get the sauce, but should be able to get the second. Oh, the cleanse is a little late from Nightingale. The stun into the wall from Popang is huge, but it's just going to end up forcing out both summoners from Nightingale, but that's going to be a big advantage in the mid lane. He's going to be coming back here before too long.
Yep, and Nightingale going for a little bit of the skill check there, figuring, hey, if I can dodge the charm, then I only get out with my flash. Maybe we'll save the cleanser. Maybe even just able to save both those sums. That's not the case, and has to pay both sums for the sins of their lack of orb walking, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. The cleanse, maybe if it's just a couple of frames earlier, you get far enough away that you don't get stunned into the wall, but was really tough. Nightingale can't quite do it that time. And now, with the junglers staring each other down on the top side, you gotta believe that favors Glacial here. They're winning both solo lanes, get a nice early reset there from Kite Azure, gonna be able to pick up the rest of this wave and get the push in his favor. Just going to keep trying to punish these losing lanes that TDK are forced into.
Sadly misses out on that last caster. Well, it's third to last caster. But really nice position here for the solo lanes. And the bottom lane, not doing terrible either. The CS deficit will be kind of noticeable, but thankfully you have the push advantage here. And it's not like Zeri plus Renata is going to have that heavy all-in power, especially pre-6. So you are relatively safe to just be farming up on this Tristan. I'm looking for the late game angle.
Absolutely here. Gonna be the longest range champion in the game for sure later on in this game, and with the addition of that Yumi to give him all the buffs, give him all the stats, definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with for Silva later on. Has some great frontliners in the form of Renekton and Poppy, so this composition going to be all about the Tristana, going to be all about saying, hey, Zeri, I don't care how broken you are, I don't care how fast you are, I'm going to be hitting you while you're 2 screens away from me, and hopefully they're going to make the difference that way.
Hopefully. Zeri does still scale up insanely well. Very item dependent. Usually 2 items is the breakpoint where you start to really notice it on Zeri, but like 3 items Zeri, that is a whole different beast.
Absolutely here. I get the sauce. Hovering bot, looking to see if he can find an angle, but Silva, he's respectful. He backs away. He saw that his ward just dropped and says, I want nothing to do with this one. I'm going to pick up this wave as it comes in. Use my explosive shot to farm it up. You're just going to keep on scaling.
Yep, both these bot laners. Very adept at scaling. I like that little recall glitch there. You used to be able to do something similar on Ziggs if you're recalling on your satchel charge. Because your satchel charge doesn't cancel your recall, so you place that down, start recalling, and then you'd have like very high rates. It'd be misplaced recall rates. I think they removed it sometime
like season 5, season 6. I don't know.
I miss the old ring-focused recall where it was just a bunch of little circles. That was a good time.
Yeah,
Uh, have
and
to
it's
have
also
to stick
listed.
by as we modernize, though.
Yeah, it was also listed as an ability on your head. I think it still sometimes is. Just so new players can see the tooltip, like, ah, yes, I can press B to recall if you're using the default keybinds. But yeah, it's just a button on your HUD you could
Ooh,
click. No
another
clown.
nice little stun angle from Popping. I get the sauce down to below half HP, and he can just keep chasing him the whole way through with that phase rush. Nightingale can't find a good angle to answer. He's got the backup of his solo lanes, and Popping plants his flag down and claims this red side jungle.
And the slight little tempo lead for the solo laner starting to pay off here for Glacial Esports. Kaidazor gonna have to eat up a very fatty.
Ooh,
Oh,
Kite Asher
all
finding an
in.
angle, but here comes an invisible monkey. I get the sauce, dashes in, flash from both parties, and Kite Asher barely stays alive. Popping,
Oh.
flashes in, gets one kill, but it's gonna be the first blood for Nightingale on the backside, but the ultimate is gonna be enough to close it out. It's a double kill for Popping, but the bot lane is here to try to chase him down. He's gonna be heading back out through the top side. He's going to be just quick enough with his phase rush to keep his wits about him. That's 2 kills to 1 for Glacial, but TDK, they get the first blood on a Nightingale.
Yep, and both kills going over to Popping as this Poppy, who is most likely going to be building the Divine Sunder into full tank here, so not going to be the primary carry. Does mean on the flip side, though, some extra turret damage. There's the Dominus.
Knows that the passive is down. Six Kings trying to escape here, and he's still just too quick. You know, he's got the movement speed from the Ghost, but here's the all-in from Silva. There's the hostile takeover to try to turn it around. Lord Cristo taking so much damage, goes for the bailout, does get it on himself, but
Ooh,
not going to be able to
almost.
finish off a kill. Flash forward from Loose Cannon is met with a flash from Silva, but now Sly Lego, he's got nowhere to go. He can't follow his AD carry anymore. Trying to jump in, but he is going to get gunned down before he can escape in time, and now Kite Azure is here as well. Cyclone getting thrown down from I Get the Sauce,
The
and there's
super
going to be
laser.
the Ultra Shock Laser. Doesn't even need it as I Get the Sauce closes it out solo.
And that's a bit of the issue with this Tristan and Yuumi lane. Like, it's the Tristan taking the full brunt of damage. Oh,
Ooh, Leoto with the solo kill underneath the turret up against the Mundo. Was looking a little shady there for a second, but Leoto pulls it off.
yeah, very close there. Thankfully, for Leoto, Six Kings not having the passive up, so not able to just reject a bunch of damage potentially, or that CC lock. Gonna cost the Dragon, though, here for Glacial Esports, that bot lane all in. Not working out in their favor, and... oh, they're going for the run back here, but... yeah, Zeri.
Yeah, Zeri things happen. Dashes over the wall with Lightning Rush. Gets himself out of dodge. Now is, still not going for the recall yet, though. Is kind of playing with fire here a little bit. You got to be at least somewhat respectful of the explosive shot damage.
Thankfully, no final chapter up just yet. Won't be available on this wave. You see the roams, though. Yep, even Nightingale is walking towards the bot lane, so... not wanting to opt in for that. Just gonna be recalling. You got a half health, 0 mana Tristan anyways. You push it up to the turret. That's a great charm. This shouldn't be a kill. We'll force out the ultimate.
Yeah, we've seen this before, and Kite Asher actually made it quite close, but this time it doesn't quite have the angle. Six Kings pushing down from the top side, but he's going to be quite outnumbered. He's going to have to get himself out of dodge. It looks like that's going to be a Rift Herald picked up for Glacial. They get themselves that gold in the upcoming crash here, but the bot lane advantage for Loose Cannon and Lord Cristo, it is nothing to scoff at. They've got themselves a 20 CS lead, as well as 2 turret plates.
And that extra kill here for Loose Cannon, so it should be a pretty big back. I don't know if it's... oh, there's a final chapter.
Dashing in, locking down on a Loose Cannon very effectively, pushing him away so that they're not going to be able to res off of the bailout. And now the reset going to force the flash out of Lord Cristo. Nicely played by Silva and Sly Lego, finally finding a time to punish Loose Cannon for staying too late.
Yeah, Loose Cannon, that is a lot of greed. I know the feeling. It's like you're so close to finishing off that shield bow. Maybe you get an extra plate here, but it is the rocket jump plus final chapter combo. And the Yuumi into Renata Glass tech working out here for Sly Lego. You don't get affected by that hostile takeover. Gonna get yoinked on in and has to worry about Nightingale potentially hitting a gravity field here, or just the ignite. Gonna finish him on off.
Yeah, it's a dead cat. That's an empty book. as
Papa bluffs.
Glacial support stays a little bit too late, gets a little bit caught far out there with the handshake from Lord Cristo, and that's going to even things up and donate a little bit extra gold over to the side of TDK.
Even though it is just a little assist going over to Nightingale, gonna be appreciated as this Victor, who's gonna be outscaling the Yari and looking to finish off what I assume is gonna be the Ludens here. Could still be something else.
For sure. Kite Azure returning to the mid lane. Mythic completed, going for that Leandries to make sure he's going to be able to dish out the damage to these tanky frontliners that TDK have drafted for themselves, and gets the shove, immediately heads into Fog of War. Nightingale going to have to do the same, get his Mythic completed. See if Glacial can do anything with that timer.
Yeah, nothing too much really on the board here. And just mostly wave states you're trying to force here. Nightingale does not have teleport, so he can push this mid wave in just a little bit. Maybe get it to crash into turret. It lets you roam to bottom, establish some control over river. There's the Rift Herald. Gotta get a big crash in here. This might be first turret. Yeah, the hostile takeover not gonna come through. Just came off a cooldown, but you got bopped away. Final chapter gonna be the final field goal.
Yeah, a little bit late there, and that's going to be a nice hostile takeover from Lord Cristo to turn it back around. It's already been a kill on a Kite Azure, and now can Silva find a way out of here? Sly Lego trying to protect his AD carry, but is going to get taken down anyway, and that double kill goes over to I Get the Sauce, make it a triple as he chases down onto the Yuumi as well. That's going to be TDK striking back in this game, getting them 3 unanswered kills and bringing the gold lead much, much closer.
Yeah, the final field goal, not exactly the best there.
Oh.
And the extended range from, not the Nimbus Strike, the
Crushing
Q.
blow.
Crushing blow, yeah. Because Nimbus Strike does kind of sound like it's the Q. It's like, yeah, you are literally striking them, but Nimbus Strike also makes sense because Nimbus is cloud, and you got some cloud particles already. That aside, though, nice pickup there by Team Death Knights. They do give up the first turret, but they're able to get 3 kills and a turret in return for themselves, and they can look to use this map state to...
Nightingale getting engaged on Silva, flashes forward, met by Nightingale. Flashes have been incredibly close in this mid lane this game, but once again, results in no kills. Loose Cannon is here.
Goose.
Looking for a little bit of an angle, something. Gives it away with the laser. It's a pretty quick monkey with I Get the Sauce getting boosted up by the Shurelya's, but it's just not enough. As
Popping
dashes in, gets the stun on a Loose Cannon, but there's a little bit too much backup there. Kite Azure is here, does land the stun on to Get the Sauce. Gets him chunked out just a little bit here, and is just looking for a potential little bite to eat here if he can find it.
Not going on in here in the top line. This is a now finished Blade of the Rune King for Leto. And 6 Kings with that Hearthsteel, that is a pure health tank mythic. It doesn't give you any resists. You do got the double cloth armors, which are going to be really nice, but you got all this fatty health against Renekton with that pork. Those basic auto attacks gonna hurt. Now an Infernal, so we are tied up here on the buffs. Gonna be the Mountain Rift. Oh, going in. Nice little slice and dice combo there.
Yeah, and there's the Dominus as well. The Mundo ultimate just barely gets him out of there. The extra movement speed, the extra health regen. There's a dash in
Nice
from Kite Azure. He
charm.
lands the charm on a Lord Cristo, and the bailout's not going to do anything. Can Loose Cannon get out in time? He can. He expends the flash. He gets himself just a little bit more distance. That's a nice pickup for Glacial Esports, as now they have full reign over the mid lane. I Get the Sauce is here, but can he do anything about it? Probably not with Popang here on the flank. They're going to just try to take this turret.
Nice pickup. It is the 1-for-0. You also got the turret. There's the Cyclone committed, though.
Dashing in onto Silva, a knock away there with the Keeper's Verdict, and now I Get the Sauce is just too far up. Shutdown goes over to Kite Azure. Some nice poppy play from Popang.
I like the idea there. It's just Loose Cannon had like next to no health. Did not have the shield bow for safety either. So you're going in a little too far there as I Get the Sauce. And there wasn't even the Chaos Storm from Nightingale to like give you that follow-up, which you really needed to help finish off those kills. So a bit of a no man returns sort of mission.
Yeah, only gets in, cannot get out, and is going to give some more gold over to Kite Azure's Ari as a result. Team just getting tankier and tankier as the game goes on. We'll see when these 80 carries start to really get to flex their muscles. One mythic completed for each one. It's really going to be those big 2 and 3 item spikes that we're on the lookout for as we get deeper and deeper into these dragon fights.
Yep. I had these teams set up for a super early dragon. So it's probably going to come down mostly to Baron control and other macro forms, like this Rift Herald. Able to use that to crack open a turret. You can see vision on it.
And it feels like in game number 1, that's where Glacial had the advantage. Glacial playing very well together as a team thus far, but TDK able to find their angles in these isolated skirmish situations. Showing it this game as well, where Loose Cannon and Lord Christo able to build up substantial leads on their own. Lord Christo finding nice picks onto Sly Lego and onto Silva earlier on. To get the sauce, finding some good ganks as well to pick up those solo kills on the Wukong. 5, 2, and 1. That gold lead, hoping to convert that into something here. And here's another one as he dives in onto Leoto, has Nightingale for the backup, who's just tanking up the turret, and I get the sauce, closes it out with the Cyclone, picks up another kill off a gank, and is going to get a turret as well.
Oof, yeah. Nightingale probably really wanted that kill there to get a little bit more footing in this game, but you will take that 1 for 0. You also get the turret, so nice little moves here by Team Death Knights. Consequence free. You don't even have to expend any flashes for that one. Just some ultimates.
Absolutely here, Kite Azure. See it in his eyes, looking for Loose Cannon, but just knows that the Spark Surge is there and will just zip Zeri out to safety any old time. And Loose Cannon's going to do just that.
Yeah, that's Zeri for you. Like, did I catch you? Nah. He just kind of flew over the entire wall. That's why Zeri Yuumi was partially popular. Because they're just so deceptively safe. Because Yuumi gets to tag along while you hop halfway across the lane using that Spark Search.
Old Zeri, very unfairy. Gets way out of the way.
I mean, it was more Yuumi, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean that one as well. You know, you can blame whichever one of that duo you want. And this time, at the very least, they're on opposite teams. So somebody's going to be losing.
Yeah. Because it's like, Yuumi usually accentuates problems.
That's fair.
Like, that's the biggest thing she does. Like, if something's hard to catch, then Yuumi's hard to catch. If something does a lot of damage, then Yuumi does a lot of damage. Zeri just happens to be very hard to catch, and once you get a few items, you do a lot of damage, so Yuumi's like, alright, well, Mama La Mia. To bring it back to that game number 1 narrative of saying Mamma Mia we had.
Remember Garen Yuumi? That was a fun meta. Popang looking on the flank here, going to go in for the Keeper's Verdict, trying to just knock one away. But yeah, the movement speed from the Shurelias makes a big difference there. Lord Christo gets his team out to safety with that item active. It's going to be Keeper's Verdict now down for Popang as they just throw down the Rift Herald and are going to try to force the team to come and answer them. A great way to try to stop this Baron buff. It looks like it does the trick.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 20.5-minute Baron. You are not doing that very fast at all, even with this 2-item Tristana and a Bork Connect. And, like, it's going to take some time. And the enemy team is literally right next to you. So it's like, if you hard commit to it, you lose the turret, then all of a sudden you got the enemy team barreling at you, and you're like,
Rift Herald down. Dragon in the eyes of TDK, but Baron started up by Glacial Esports again. They just want to pull TDK up towards the top side of the map. Kite Asher camping around, doesn't land the charm though. Gets some good damage, but is going to have to back away. The Baron is ceased once again. This 5v5 Baron dance continues on. Glacial Esports, they get themselves the speed shrine, and it looks like they want to go right back to it.
Yeah. They're kind of going over the wall, though. So just pushing this on in. And we picking up this dragon. They're just going back to it, Gordo.
Yeah, and I mean, a little bit late on starting the Baron here, but they do eventually regroup and start it on up. There is no vision, as you say, for TDK. They are moving their way back up. Surely they can predict what's going on here. It's happened twice in a row already, but they might just be too little too late. Baron's below 2.5, below 1k. Smite secured. Glacial gets themselves the Baron in trade for the Dragon, but now Nightingale flashes forward, looking for an engage. Final chapter coming across. Kite Azure, incredibly low. Ultra Shock Laser doesn't land, but I get the sauces over the wall. He's looking for an angle for the Cyclone. Cyclone. He flashes in, is met with a flash in turn from Kite Azure, but he's going to drop anyway, as now Silva has to just head for the hills and try to escape with whatever life he can. Popbang got the recall off already, so it's going to be 2 Baron buffs taken off the map.
Yeah, that could have gone a lot worse, not gonna lie. But thankfully, Glacial Esports, they are on the blue side, so much easier to retreat when you run to the bottom side of the map. And they're gonna have to really make this Baron buff work, because they paid quite the hefty price for it. They gave up 2 members. They also gave up that second dragon, which might bite them in the butt later if we do get to a hyper late game situation. We'll have to see. But for now, crack open some turrets with this Baron buff. Make it work, because you paid a bit of a price for it.
Sure here. I get the sauce. Picking up his jungle camps. A great flank in that last fight. A fantastic Wukong game so far here for him. He's really done a lot to keep his team in this game and give them this opportunity that they now have to be able to win more fights, keep stacking up these dragons. Popbang looking for an angle onto 6 Kings. Do they have the damage to stop this Mundo?
Yeah.
There's going to be the passive pop.
Yeah,
There's going to be the
Leandri's,
charm
I guess.
landed, but it is going to be the ultimate being channeled here. Another stun into the wall, and it looks like they will be able to close out on him eventually. Kite Azure picks up that kill.
Dropping the money. The money gonna be going directly to us casters, because we all know we make sick Dravy bucks doing this. Nice little freebie pickup, though. That instance, you do still have Baron buff on a couple members. Try and push in a lane here. Well, you got this 5 versus 4 state.
Does mean maximum dosage will be down even when 6 Kings respawns as well. There's the flash out of Lord Christo. Glacial just picking up a whole bunch across the map here. They get themselves the mid-inner turret. There's going to be a big stun coming out of Popbang, trying to lock down onto I Got the Sauce. Here comes the rest. He's just going to dash over the wall there with the decoy and should escape. But now, moving down on to the bottom lane, they've still got this Baron buff. They can still clean up inner turrets.
Yep. Inner turrets will be dropping like flies here. Gonna be getting some nice gold here. Not the biggest gold lead. They got less than 20 seconds now left on the purple buff. So shouldn't be able to accomplish too much more with it. In all, it was a 1 for 3, or 1 for 2 at the Baron, but you do pick up 2 inner turrets. I'm counting the 6 Kings kill in that trade, so kind of worth. I forgot to mention the dragon, but yeah.
For sure here. Going to be a minute 30 on the next one is Leoto. He's got to be careful. He might be up a little bit far here. He's recalling from the top of his life guard post. It looks like he will be able to get out. Oh, they see him. Just a second too late, though. That crocodile is out of there. Now, Silva pushing in mid. Going to have to be a little bit careful. He doesn't know how many members are lurking on the bottom, but Kite Azure waiting in the wings as well.
Glacial Esports likely knew at least 1 or 2 members of Team Death Knights were in that bot side, as Leoto should have got vision of that word being dropped down, assuming they didn't have the shop tab up, or their game sounds down very low, since you would hear the keyboard sound. Oh.
Ooh.
I almost canceled it.
Yeah, just a little too late. So Leoto getting collapsed on here. He is doomed. Nowhere to go, even through the Dominus. Leoto will get picked up by Loose Cannon.
That's a big pickup here right before the dragon. Leoto will have to teleport into this. Will at least have about 6 to 8 seconds between when they respawn and that dragon does come up. So they will be able to teleport back on in and have about a second or 2 to spare. Still a pretty nice pickup here.
Absolutely is. Popbang and Silva pushing up through the rest of the mid lane. I Get the Sauce waiting around there. Could go for the engage. This would be a 4 versus 3 if they went for it, but got to be conscious of Silva. He's got the Buster shot. He's got the ability to pop away at a moment's notice. Looks like they will just fall back and regroup. A nice little split push from Kite Azure going to lead to him regrouping, and this is a double TP. Yeah, the rest of the squad is here. They are deep behind enemy lines. They do get spotted by that control ward, though. TDK do know what is going on here, but they are not the first ones to the dragon, and Yeah, this flank is spotted the whole way through. They know exactly where Leoto is. Kite Azure dashes in, can't land the charm, going to have to back away. Leoto, they have a pretty good idea of where he is, but is that going
Yeah,
to be
that's a
enough
good
to help
keeper's
them in this fight?
verdict.
The two-man Keeper's Verdict engage on a Nightingale. Popbang is looking for this mage, trying to lock him down. Explosive shots on top of him. Six Kings will eventually drop, and there's the reset for Silva. Jumps in, takes out Victor, jumping back, looking for Loose Cannon, but now in a
Spatana's
1
all
versus
alone,
2,
though.
has to expend the cleanse and is going to eventually drop, and I get the sauce. He's going to get taken down by Leoto and the rest of Glacial Esports. They are still strong. Flash forward from Kite Azure. Can't quite
There
close
it
it out,
is.
but there's Popbang finally finding his way on a Loose Cannon, taking him down. 4 members dead for TDK, 1 for Glacial, and they're going to get themselves the dragon.
Great keeper's verdict by Popping to start that off. We're all focusing on the potential double solo laner flank there, Goro, but it doesn't work out. Keeper's verdict, though, making it a 5 versus 3, working out pretty damn well here, if I do say so myself, for Glacial Esports Blue. Baron is on the map, but you don't really have the members to take it right now, so it's going to opt in instead for the dragon. Going to be a bit of a long game, so yeah, make sure you have some popcorn, maybe some snacks here.
For sure here. I'm not allowed to snack on stream anymore, especially not popcorn. That's definitely going to be an unpleasant ASMR
No, the best
experience for
the
everybody
best thing
at
is
home.
get a bag of like chips on stream, so everybody just hears like the ruffling. Because for some reason, chip bags manufacturers are like, we have to make these like the loudest things ever when you grab chips in them, and then you take out the chip and just eat it bite by bite. Really, so that's great for stream.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna put the bag right over the mic. You know, it's gonna
Oh,
be
we
my
are
pop
all getting the
filter.
bag tonight, baby. We're betting with those traffic points. Actually, we didn't set up the bets.
Well, you know.
Oh, Lido.
Don't mention what we
Go
don't
to
have is
danger.
Leoto's looking for an angle onto Nightingale here. Popbang arriving as well, and this is a big numbers disadvantage for the TDK mid laner. Nightingale taken off the map for 50 seconds.
And Baron being started on up here and instantly stopped. We do still have to worry about the fact that there is this now 2.5 item Zeri with the stopwatch. There is also a Cyclone. You're grouped up in the pit as a bit of a recipe for disaster. Popbang looking for the flank here.
A great flank. There's going to be the hostile takeover landed on the Leoto. This Renekton has no
Oh,
chance.
that
There's
whiff.
going to be a miss on the Keeper's Verdict. The lockdown on the other frontliner. And Glacial Esports, their top and jungle just melt to the TDK squad. And now they're the ones threatening the Baron. Silva and Kite Azure, though, they're stepping up. They've got the damage, even if they don't have the front line. Looking for the
Hey,
reset.
that's
Silva
one.
gets one. Buster shots away the other. Gets pulled back in by the handshake, but gets
Oh,
one
the
reset.
Yumi
Gets
healing.
another. The Yumi keeps them alive forever and a day. And Kite Azure can now step forward and finish off on I Get the Sauce. That's going to be a near ace for Glacial Esports. They look like they throw it, but they turn it back around.
Yeah, to bring it back, since this was for some reason in my head, to the Dallas Cowboys joke you made last game about them being unable to score field goals, that's kind of like them being unable to score the extra point because it gets bopped, but then you have a wide receiver catch it and just run it in for 2 points. I don't know if that's legal, actually. It should be.
A little bit of football rules analysis on the
I don't
stream
know, dude.
today.
Either way, hype fight. Even if it was a little bit on the Papega side.
Yeah, no, great. Crazy that Silva stays alive there. The Yumi shield doing everything there to keep that little Tristana alive and get them the remaining kills that they needed. Now Leoto and Popping, they're back on the map. And the Baron is back in their eyes. Glacial Esports, they've been prioritizing that worm like nothing else this game. And they're going to keep doing so.
Granted, we do have Dragon up here in about 1:40. That might be slightly higher prio. Granted, you will have someone in the area for both these teams. We saw Glacial Esports just kind of take it very early, like, what, 22 minutes in? 21 minutes in? I forget how long that dance was. It originally started like 20.5 minutes. And then, like, after some back and forths and, like, 2 other failed attempts, then they were able to grab the Baron, cost them 2 members. That was a while ago. This is now.
Sure. TDK squad moving on over. They've got vision, but a lot of it going to be turned off by that control war. They got one of their own, though. The chicken keeping an eye on that Baron buff. The rest of the team, though, we don't know where Glacial Esports are hiding, and they have fallen victim to some pretty good flanks so far this game, so they're going to continue to approach cautiously.
Yeah, I mean, when the game is on this much of a razor's edge, you gotta approach it cautiously.
Popang a little bit in deep here, does have quite a little bit of survivability with that steadfast presence, but I got the sauce chasing him all the way down. Teleport now being channeled. Silva is here as well. Kite Azure has joined the party, and here's the flank
Look at
angle
the flank
from
that pins
Leoto.
there. This
They
is a
can
fight.
pinch the entire squad.
Great
There's first
verdict.
verdict to knock out 2 members of the enemy team, and now with the 5 versus 3, they're going to take the fight right here, right now. Kite Azure goes dominating as they get the slam into the wall on a loose cannon, and it's a wipe from there. Glacial Esports step forward. They pick up the double kill for Silva, and once again, it is a huge steadfast presence that ends up closing it out. Triple kill get picked up for Silva. Ace is finished off, and Glacial Esports, they get the Baron and everything else.
5-0, they get Baron. They can grab Dragon Tooth, they do so please, but it looks like they're looking to crack open a cold one with the boys in the enemy base right now. Have their cake and eat it too. Because you got double Baroned up minion waves. You got 2 nice little Nexus turrets, or inhib turrets available. Just gonna be taking those on down and picking up the inhibitors as well by the looks of it.
Yeah, loose cannon's coming up in 3 seconds, but he probably can't stop this on his own. Kite Asher could even look for the 3rd inhibitor turret if he wants to get greedy with it. Looks like he's not going to do that, though. Leoto gets slowed by the Ultra Shock laser, but not going to be able to be chased down. They are going to retreat. They're going to spend their winnings, and they're going to get themselves on Soul Point while they're at it.
And this is starting to enter the Doom territory here for Team Death Knights, because you're down 9k, you got double inhibs down. Like, a fun fact I heard a long time ago about League of Legends is, like, the percentage of, like, your ability to come back in a game when there's 1 inhib down is low. But when there's 2 inhibs down, it is, like, so drastically low, like, it drops off a cliff. I'm forgetting the exact numbers, but we can forget about that.
Oh,
Like the
Nightingale caught up a little bit too far again. The charm lands and Kite Azure picks up the kill, but the Resurrect comes through from the bailout, and now it's going to be Popang who's up too far as well. Glacial Esports bite off more than they can chew, trying to head for the hills, trying to stay alive, but Popang very close to dropping, will manage to escape the steadfast presence.
I was looking.
Popping passive is weak. Gofarino manages to stay alive, but Kite Azure going to be down for 35 more seconds.
And that is a huge, huge blow here to this Baron buff push. Oh, Lord. That's me swallowing my own spit down the wrong pipe. But such a huge blow. Yes, they were able to get 2 inhibs, but, like, that alone is going to stifle any more aggression coming out from this Baron buff push for a while. And Glacial Esports, they're just going to have to be resting on their laurels that they're 2 downed inhibs. You want to force it through that. That stuns?
Oh, can't believe that one locked down Lord Cristo as he's going to drop it. That could be what ends up deciding the game here, Go for Enos. Lord Cristo not being able to be present for this fight. They're not going to have any of the tools that he brings to the table. So I get the sauce going in for the engage. Gets the knock up onto the front line, but Silva still raining the damage in from the side, and nobody can get out of this Tristana. Silva goes unstoppable, dashing forward on a Nightingale, picks up the double kill. 6 Kings and Loose Cannon have got to stage a miracle here if they want to stay alive in this game, but it's just not gonna happen. Quadra kill for Silva, and that's gonna be a 2-0 victory. Glacial Esports starting themselves off on the right foot in the Risen Divine League.
They're looking for the penna.
Oh, can they get it underneath the turret? And it's going to be it. Pentakill for Silva to start off the 2023 season. That's a win for Glacial.
We're out in the back as well. This game, while fairly close for the most part, once that second Baron happened here, Gordo, that's when things just really spiraled out of control. And Glacial Esports, like I said, able to pull off the 2-0.
Absolutely here. Fantastic performance there from the veteran squad, staying together since last year, trading out only on their top laner. And a solid performance there from Leoto as well. Had a nice couple of lane phases in his bag. Pretty solid Renekton performance in this last game as well. And Team Death Knights, they show a lot. They look pretty good, but not good enough to take a game here tonight.
Yeah, it was really, really close, especially in that game #1. But when it came to some of those late game fights, just not able to really pull it out there. And we saw Glacial Esports, especially Silva as the Tristana, once they got going, just able to shred through the enemy team here. Team Death Knights just not really able to absorb those stacked up explosive charges.
Yeah, Cat down there, gonna keep on jamming as Yumi picks up her first victory in the Risen Divine League this split. Listen, I'm not happy about it either, man, but we call it like we see them. Now, we're gonna throw it back to the analyst desk here as Bonfire and Slayer are gonna break down how Glacial won this game #2.
I'm just jamming along, man. Cat jam, Yumi jam, Yumi jam. What a game to close it out from Glacial Esports. Black here, a lot more dominant in their second win of the entire night to close out the series. And Bonfire, it's certainly a great sign to see as well that it wasn't the same player really stepping up for this squad to punch things out. This team looks pretty formidable if we're taking this series at full face value.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that this was a statement win from Glacial, and they really showed it in this game. We all kind of predicted that their draft wasn't going to show out, but I think that's the sign of a good team. Bad draft, good win. They really made it all work, and I think that the Yumi Jam's showing out right now. That's how all Glacial fans are feeling right now, just jamming along with their first Divine win. Congratulations to everyone at Glacial Esports Blue.
Certainly a statement series to kick off their season, but we still got to break down this game because there were a lot of really key moments here in this one, Bonfire. And the first one really kicks off. It's the Death Knights who had a really big play towards the bottom lane here to get their own bot side really started here. So take me through this play.
Yeah, it really comes down to, I think, over aggression. They really want to get a lot of value out of this Rift Herald, and they are able to get something early on with the tower, but Kite Azure just pushes up way too far, and I want you to keep an eye on Loose Cannon because he goes completely unchecked this entire time. Silva doing what he can to make sure that the Zeri isn't able to free hit, but that also puts Silva in a horrible position, and then it's just easy pick and Sly Lego along with the Tristana being knocked down early, and it's a triple kill for the Wukong. And it really felt like that was the story of the game. The jungler from TDKR, the Wukong getting very far ahead, and the Tristana falling behind. But as we'll see, that script got flipped.
Yeah, the script certainly got flipped, and part of the reasoning is this guy down here, but also, Silva as well. And once they started to scale up and work well together, well, things started to blossom. And Glacial Esports have shown one thing, big portion of this entire series to me, is the fact that they just play so well as a team dynamically. And it's really going to be highlighted in this next fight. We're going to jump really far ahead into the game, nearly 30 minutes. Baron was a big point of contention for a lot of these squads, and we're going to see in just a bit here that the teams decide to dance around it constantly, and with this Tristana and Yumi pairing, it finally started to come online. But this fight didn't really start off in the best matters, right? Because you see here, I mean, it's going to be Nightingale. He does get chased down and caught out early on, but they're going to move down, and they're going to try to position around Baron, but this Renekton and this Poppy, not exactly on the same page. Or Papang trying to set up a flank for Keeper's Verdict, and Leoto is trying to juggle Baron aggro, but doesn't do it too well. Gets caught by the hostile takeover, pops his stopwatch. Immediately he's going to get blown up, though, and the rest of the carries here are stuck on the other side of the fight. Papang is now surrounded by 5 and blown up, so you're thinking, oh god, Glacial Esports, that's a big throw, but the carries are still alive. Silva is still kicking. A beautiful final chapter comes across, gets a ton of damage out. Kite Azure snipes down 6 kings, and they're able to take down Loose Cannon by the skin of their teeth. The Yumi shield does dividends. Another stylish play from this support for Glacial Esports. I Get the Sauce does finally shut down Silva, but it's too little too late. The victor is already backed, and Kite Azure can turn it around. It's 4 for Glacial Esports, so you're going to really start noticing a theme, and it's going to be something we really going to want to track going through the season, Bonfire. Glacial Esports just playing so well as a team, and even with their backs against the wall, they can still come out fighting.
Yeah, and I think it just goes to show the individual talent that so many members have on this team. We talked about Kaiser in game one, but we really have to talk about Silva. And near the end of this game, he really showed out in, I think, the best way you can. We're going to have to go down to Mexico. Just a little Cinco de Mayo, Cinco, 5 dead. Day of the Dead, actually. I'm just stringing together words right here as we prepare for this final just absolute meltdown from TDKR. And it really started with, I think Gofrino put it perfectly, an unbelievable stun from the Poppy. Just didn't really look like it was going to hit, but at the end of the day, it did hit. And it really just comes down to you cannot be in that position that you are. You have to play with the team, especially when you're down that much gold. And it set up Silva perfectly for this pentakill. It really was the perfect bookend on what was an unbelievable game.
Yeah, certainly was a bookend, but that's actually not where we're going to go first here because there's also another big impactful fight around the 33-minute mark because you saw the first fight around Baron. It wasn't perfect at all. You saw multiple points where you lose your top jungle. But this final Baron call that really pushed the game over the edge for Glacial Esports is where they really got to flash their colors, their ability to fight as a team here. And, well, you can see early on here, it's going to be a catch on to Nightingale, who is able to QSS. The shutdown does come across. They're actually able to catch this Ari, but the turn is just too strong. He's actually, I believe this is a bit of a catch on to Papang here. I might be getting my replay set up. All right, we're speed things up though. This is actually the Penta Bonfire. Take me through it though, because this stun is still bonkers to me to watch.
Yeah, Lord Christo getting stunned right there, just not where you want to be. And again, you're trying to clear a ward. It's just way too dangerous to be there. But this is where it all goes wrong. And I think it's just the goal deficit because it actually starts pretty strong. I got the sauce. I talked about how powerful he was, gets the knockup on two of actually the front lines. But Silva, again, going unchecked, really great positioning from the AD carry, making sure he's not in any range to get killed, and then just staying behind the front line. And I got the sauce, Nightingale, really anybody on Team Death Knights can free hit anybody they want, but if they're not getting Silva, they are not going to get the win. Silva gets one. Silva's going to get two right here. Loose Cannon just cannot survive the burst that Tristana has this late in the game. Silva free hitting. Look at the turret that is the Yordle right there. And right now, just for style points, I'm sure in the team chat he's saying, guys, I need this pentakill to start off my career, a charm into a stun. And it's easy pickings right here. Silva making sure to sacrifice everybody on the team for that coveted penta. Congratulations. I believe it's his first game. I can't really say for sure in the Divine League, but if it is, pretty unbelievable stuff in your first series, excuse me, to get a pentakill.
Certainly is, and special shout out to Kaiser there. Flawless time charm on the respawn. I mean, he makes it look easy. It's far from easy, I can promise you that. Well, that is, we're wrapping things up here for our first week of the Divine League Winter 2023 split here, and what a way to start because Bonfire. I know there's not really any power rankings coming out. You look at a couple of teams that really stand out as who could really run this table. You talk about teams like maybe the Team Ambition side, maybe one of these collegiate universities and the backing they have of their squads. I think Glacial Esports Black just put the rest of the league on notice tonight.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it really just ends up being that sometimes the newer teams can get a win early on, and sometimes maybe it is a force to be reckoned with. And that's the beautiful thing about this 7-week regular season gauntlet that we have is we get to see if they are a pretender or a real contender. But right now, this series, week one, they showed out and they put the rest of the league on notice that they are here to make a name for themselves.
Azure and Silva keep playing like that. I don't think there are many teams in either division that can shut this squad down. But that will unfortunately wrap things up here for the first week of the Divine League Winter 2023 split. Congratulations again to Glacial Esports Black as they 2-0 Team Death Knights reject here. And of course, shout out once again to Gordo and Gorfarino on a fabulous call. Our production behind the scenes as well. Caddy always doing an amazing job of making sure we're all jamming out with Yumi as well. And if you guys are, still hungry for more Risen action, you can't wait a week for Divine to come back around. Well, don't worry because this weekend, starting Friday and throughout the weekend, we have the Draft League doing their play-ins. I believe Pre-Made Dominant, Pre-Made Unstoppable. All of those leagues will be running throughout the weekend with another beautiful set of casters and a whole new set of players. So make sure to tune in for that and stay locked to the socials. I've been Slayer. That's Bonfire. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys, and we'll see you back next week to showcase the next two teams from the Divine League.